That was quick. All right, moving on. Next up, we have Amra Pasovic. Let me start your timer.
Good evening.
Ready?
Ready?
Go ahead.
Good evening, everybody. I'm here tonight because I finally found enough courage to speak up against ethnic discrimination, gender discrimination, bribery, and retaliation that I was a victim of by our current interim superintendent. Many of you know me. I have been part of this committee for 27 years. In the past 7 years, I have worked for the district.
So I'm sorry to interrupt you, but do specific personnel complaints need to be,
Yes.
are they able to be aired publicly? I don't think so.
Well, how will you know who I'm complaining against?
It needs to be filed and through a complaint process?
I already did that.
Okay.
Right.
Then-
The process needs to follow. if I'm
But
not
yeah,
mistaken.
we're not, all employees, just say you and anyone
I'll
else.
just say
can be-
administrator.
Okay.
Thank you. Many of you know me, I have been part of this community for 27 years. In the past 7 years, I have worked for the district and should be a pure example of our HBS model. Start here, stay here, and succeed here. But unfortunately, the recent events have been anything but that. I am invested in this community that I even supported Pupil Services Department for 5.5 months for no extra pay or support. When a promotional position opened up, the administrator called me and discouraged me from applying for the position. He shared his views with me and told me that my current position is less demanding and a better fit for me because I have a family and this job is very demanding. He also made me a promise that if it was about money, to pay me more money, $10,000 or more if I stayed in my current position and not apply for a higher position. As a hardworking, dedicated female employee, I was shocked and hurt. I'm qualified for this position and I deserved it. But the backwards mindset and discrimination blocked me. I thought of other female employees and I thought of my daughter, and I decided that I will not allow anyone to tell me if I should apply for a position which I'm qualified for because they look down on females who work and have families at the same time. I decided to apply for the position because I did not want to be intimidated and I was one of the top 2 candidates. After I was told I did not get the position, fake promises were made to me. I was offered another position. But at this moment, I knew something was not right as he could not give me a reason why I was not hired. He asked me to support the new individual and he will create another position for me to work under her and pay me more money. At that time, all I asked from him was for my well-being, to continue to do my previous job and not to be humiliated, but he couldn't stop. Instead, to get back at me, he made the new hire my direct supervisor because he knew I would be forced to help this individual and that this individual would be doing my end-of-year evaluation. I must say, I have the utmost respect for this new hire. It's not their fault that this administrator did not look at my qualification, judge me because I was a married woman with multiple kids, which he saw as a negative. But before the position even opened up, I didn't have a chance. Because I did not listen to his orders, I have suffered continuous retaliation. He began to isolate me and others to hire and promote yes men and yes women. He only empowers staff who follow what he says and do what he wants, even if it's wrong or illegal. Through the whole time, he allowed others to discriminate against me without stepping in or protecting me from these employees who also had their secret agenda to bring in their own family and friends who follow their mindsets. It's unfortunate that many of us that have been here for a long time that are invested in this community are being shushed, retaliated against, and pushed out. I could have avoided the wrath and anger if I remained silent. I had to ask myself in 2022, is this how we want females to behave when faced with someone who looks down at them? I say no. There should be zero tolerance for retaliation and discrimination. As a female and as a proud mother who works very hard for HPS, I will not let anyone discriminate against me because of my ethnic background or because I have a family. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, we have Mariana Marcos, I'm sorry. All right, you have 3 minutes. Please do not specifically point out any individuals, okay? Tell me when you're ready.
Ready. Good evening. My name is Mirjana Maros and I'm here to finally speak about unethical, discriminatory and retaliatory actions of one administrator. Many of you know me as the LD district facilitator who started her journey here at HPS as a high school teacher in 2017. My story is very similar to the story of all people and students who I had the honor to serve in Hamtramck Public Schools. For the past 3 years, I was a loyal and committed coworker to my boss. I was rated highly effective on all my evaluation, and I was recognized on various media for my work in service to HPS. My hardship starts on July 25th when my boss called me late night to inform me that my coworker will be my interim ELD director, and when I asked for clarification, he stated that it was not because of my job performance, because my job performance reviews are great. My administrator told me I did not get the job because my coworker is younger, my coworker does not have a family, and she has more time on her hands, quote unquote, to do the job which is demanding. Yes, I'm older, and yes, I have a family. These are two reasons why I did not get the promotion, but these reasons violate my civil rights. How can HPS do this to me? Because the law in America does not allow for men like my boss to discriminate against my age or to discriminate because as a female I decided to have a family. However, after he realized that his contract does not allow for such a provision, he shared with me in front of another coworker that instead of interim ELD director position, he will create a new position same as mine. And it was not a secret amongst our team members that it was intended for my younger coworker who did not have an administrative certificate. Once that position was not approved by the board, my boss proceeded with retaliation because in his mind it was my fault. The whole situation ruined my relationship with my coworkers. I was not included in relevant meetings and communication. I was excluded from administration groups and set up for failure. I made my administrator angry by refusing to bend down and I fought for appropriate EL curriculum for English learners instead of unsupportive Lucy Cookie's curriculum. I also spoke against placing books that serve political agendas on HPS library shelves because parents need to know what their children read in schools. To protect myself from my boss, I filed 2 HR complaints, but HR was removed,
30 seconds.
protecting me and people like me. On September 12, without any prior discussion, our boss retaliated against me further by making me move to another school building. I did not know what my role was going to be since email stated that the principal of the school will find a space for me. This is what I got for being a hardworking employee, but unfortunately, as an immigrant with the accent, as a female who was older, as a female who has a family, I do not need the world our boss wants to build. So I was discriminated against. Therefore, I
Time's up.
request from the board to do what is their duty and protect me as a proven quality female employee from these tyrannical actions who does not respect women like me. Please end this nightmare by making it clear that HPS has a zero tolerance policy against discrimination and retaliation.
Is this pertaining to the agenda or not? Why the school documents are not being translated to?
No, that'll be at the end.
Okay. Right, I don't have any more audience participations. We do have one for the end of the meeting. Okay, moving on, we're going to the committee updates. We'll start off with the SPED department. Regarding ACE staffing, please.
Good evening. Thank you for inviting me again to give you an update on the status of staffing for the special education department at ECE. We were successful in recruiting 2 phenomenal social workers. They were slated to be on this evening's agenda, however, because of a board agenda that was already full, the HR committee report and update was shifted to the November 9th. I would like to speak briefly about the qualification of the 2 social workers. One social worker is coming to us with years of experience. She is fully certified, and her niche is working with the secondary age and the alternative age population. Her placement is going to be at the high school and Horizon. However, the next candidate really steals the thunder. He comes to us with past teaching experience of about 5 to 7 years. I don't have his file in front of me, but 5 to 7 years of teaching experience. He's coming out of the classroom. He is finishing his social work degree. And past work experience includes working with children with autism under the supervision and guidance of ABA therapist and BCBA certified therapist. And he also has put some work with the World Bank doing research and analytics on early childhood education. So his placement is recommended to be at early childhood elementary. I think he is having spoken to him, interviewed him, spoken to him a couple of times, I am ecstatic by his disposition. He is very well-rounded. He comes to us with this calm demeanor. He is thoughtful, analytical. He is the quintessential social worker that we need right now to help support us. We were able to find a substitute teacher to fill one classroom at early childhood elementary, and tomorrow we have additional scheduled interviews with 2 additional special education teacher contracted candidates to help fill those positions. We are also on the next Board of Education agenda. There should be 3 paraprofessionals recommended for hire. 2 of them are for early childhood. 1 of them is for Dickinson East Elementary. We are still short. We are still looking for a school psychologist, and we're just not having any luck finding somebody that has the right qualification, but more importantly, somebody that is willing to come in and work on site with our students. So the work has shifted to me. We're in progress. Today was a day stacked of meetings at ECE for initial parent consent for evaluations, and the ball is rolling. We're picking up additional evaluations, but we're starting to address the backlog of evaluations that are there. I don't want to speak for the staff at ECE, having spent a couple of days at ECE, and the fact that they're seeing that we're starting to accomplish some things. I think the atmosphere at ECE is starting to calm down a little bit. I think that they're seeing that their concerns have been acknowledged, that they're legitimate concerns, but that we're moving ahead with the best resources that we have, and understanding that we are still short-handed from staff. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. Otherwise, that's my update for ECE.
I just have one question.
Yes.
Are you inviting families or parents or anybody to do interviews, or what's the process right now?
To do interviews,
Yeah.
it is my understanding that parent participation and board participation on interviews was intended for administrative positions,
Okay.
not for regular para or teacher or related services type of positions.
Okay.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
Are we losing any other teachers from special ed?
So we are not losing teachers, but I do want to put it out there that we do need additional staffing in special ed. And unfortunately, right now, we have a couple of staff members that are either out on extended medical leave or are anticipated to go out on extended medical leave. As of today, it is not my knowledge that any of our teachers are leaving us.
Do you know which school is?
Yes, we do have
Well, sorry.
I'm sorry.
I don't know if we need to identify
Okay.
where medical
No,
needs are, you know.
I guess to find out, we're gonna be short.
Yeah.
That's all that my question was.
I understand, you know, how it can help everyone.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that we do need to keep some things confidential just
Yes.
because it identifies the person who's.
You wanna
I mean,
know where
not
the
different-
primary need is? Where the primary needs are surveyed, is that what you want to know?
Just.
I think he just wants to know if we're gonna be losing any teachers, as in teachers resigning.
It isn't, for special education, I don't have knowledge on anybody who has expressed a concern or a dissatisfaction with their job that they are planning on leaving.
Okay. Any further questions? No? Thank you, Mr. Owen.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Yeah, thanks for
Appreciate
working
your
for
time.
everybody.
Yeah,
For the
thanks.
sake
Thanks
of,
to everyone who worked on the recruiting and the hiring of those folks.
for the sake of time, let's try to limit the updates to about 7 to 10 minutes each, so if we can have finance come up, section 98C funding to address learning loss.
Good evening.
Good
Good evening.
Thank you for this opportunity and the purpose to be brief. Right, it was
You gotta shake the mouse around, yeah.
Here, let me help you out.
Thank you.
Go.
So, again, good evening and thank you for this opportunity. My name is Wendy Thornton and I am the Continuous Improvement State and Federal Grant Specialist. I just wanted to present to you all as a requirement, in addition to my wanting to share with you some information. We have been provided with the opportunity to apply for a state grant, no, federal grant. But at any rate, it's section 98C. And it would allow some monies for us to provide a very extensive summer learning program for our students. So that's a little bit of background information on the state grant. Alrighty, and I do have the memo, so to save some time, I'll just share the memo with you all. But our plans, again, are to provide a targeted assistance program. So we're gonna use the data that we're afforded through our different tests. We have the iReady, we have some internal tests that we use here in the district, but by the end of the school year, we'll be able to triangulate our data and find the areas of most needs for our students, and then we'll provide that summer learning program to address those needs. One of the reasons why we are so compelled to do this is an example of our data. This is our benchmark data that we acquired this year, and the reading reflects about 94% of our students being assessed. And as you can see where the arrow is pointing, our students are falling below 2 grades level of their current academic level where they should be. That's for reading. For math, pretty much the same picture. Again, this is about 90% of our students being assessed this school year. And this is our initial assessment, so we're looking forward to some growth even throughout the school year, but by the summer, we hope to narrow this gap. Why did we choose summer learning programs? Because of all of the benefits that summer learning provides to our students. We actually have an opportunity to minimize the class sizes, so our teachers can be a little bit more effective because they can offer one-on-one or small group intervention with our students. The summer is a great opportunity to stay connected with our students and provide them some additional services. You've all heard all of the stories about, you know, children being at home in the summer and things of that nature. So we're gonna bridge all of those needs with our students by bringing them in the summer. And again, some additional information with regard to how to design an effective program. One of the requirements of this program is that we progress monitor our program, the success or lack thereof of our program, and make decisions with regard to the information or data that we acquire. Now, I can be honest with you, all of our grant-funded programs do require this, but this specifically has been identified by the state as they want this as part of our program. So this is a tool provided by them. I'm not saying we're gonna use this tool specifically because we may have some additional needs that we need to address, but this is a template of a progress monitoring tool that we could use. Any questions? So it was just a matter that we had to present to you all. You don't have to like vote on it or anything. Yes, ma'am.
So, one of the first slides indicated that we would be able to access at least 100,000, 114,000.
And
So
there's-
what changes, I guess what determines the at least and what can we do?
There's
more?
potential for more money. It
Yeah.
depends on how many districts actually apply for the grant.
Got you, so it's
Right
just
now,
limited funds
that's
and then
just
it's
based on
spread,
their-
yeah, fair,
their
so it's shared
general
amongst everyone. So it's not about number of students that we can
That's
target,
correct.
that we, okay, perfect.
Any other questions?
No, I was just gonna ask that, can we make sure that, a more, an update actually about the program design is on a future COW agenda, as that develops? Not just the financial part.
Most definitely, and the reason it isn't now is again, we need to acquire more data.
Yep.
So that is.
Yeah, no, I just had questions
Once
like, 'cause
to-
last summer we had a program that wasn't as targeted, was open enrollment, you know, why the reason for the change, what were the results then, what, you know, so conversations for the program design update.
Fantastic. And so here's some additional information if you would like it. I'll leave it here at the table. And I'm always available to you for questions.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up we have Craig Daniels to give us an update on his conference. Go ahead. Good evening.
Hope all is well this evening. Just want to give a brief update on the NRPA conference that the board and the superintendent allowed me to attend in September. I want to say thank you for that opportunity to be able to attend. It was my first time in 3 years going back to the conference with over 7,000 people in the field in attendance and over 271 different sessions to choose from. Just a one-man show was a little bit overwhelming, but I managed. So I'm gonna give a brief update on the sessions I went to and what I believe we got out of it, or I got out of it, and I'll help bring it back to Hamtramck. One of the things, the common denominator around conversing with a lot of people in the field, that we was all dealing with the shortage of lifeguards. And I went to a session that pretty much discussed how they went from like 8 lifeguards pre-pandemic to 1 after. And pretty much the town was in an uproar because they had to shorten the hours of the pool to accommodate only having 1 guard to be able to service the population in the community, which made it difficult. And what steps they took to try to recruit, retain additional lifeguards to be able to want to get back in the water with the pay, lifeguard pay, not keeping up with the restaurant pays and different things of that nature. A lot of people got off the water and pretty much took other jobs. So pretty much one of the things that they discussed was pretty much having signing bonuses for lifeguards, providing training to the people who know how to swim but wasn't Red Cross certified, so that the department paid for them to train to be a lifeguard, to hopefully they take that, pay them in the training, and eventually Red Cross certified, they'll be a lifeguard. So I found that interesting, thinking about if that happened to me in Hamtramck, and how many calls the superintendent and complaints the board would receive if we had to shorten the hours, and especially in the summertime because of the lack of staff. And it just made me realize so far we hanging on. And I thank the board for giving the lifeguards a raise. So I just think we want to keep that in the forefront of mind, that it's a consistent struggle, not just here in Hamtramck, in the state of Michigan and countrywide, as far as the recruitment, retention, and retaining of lifeguards all over. And I don't know if you've seen that this summer, how that was pretty much talked about a lot. You know, I always listen to that type of stuff because I'm in the field, but it was pretty much a thing like Madison Heights, Red Oaks, had to shut their pool down because they just couldn't have enough guards to be able to service that. So another one I went to that was really interesting. It was an uncomfortable conversation with black, white, and brown professionals. And pretty much the conversation pretty much making sure as a field that we are accepting of everyone in our communities, regardless of where they're from, what's their language, because they all deserve recreation, right? Something to do, something to be able to enjoy. So it was really heartfelt because me working in this community that's so diverse and want to make sure all our constituents feel like they have an opportunity to recreate and create memories. And then to have this conversation with thousands of professionals where it was pretty much open, like it wasn't no, don't say that, let's talk about it so we leave out of here and all be better as professionals to serve our communities that don't necessarily look like us, but they still should deserve quality recreation, whatever that looks like for that particular community. So that was a really good, hard-hitting session that I went to that made me think about, hey, you know, what can I do as a director to make sure everybody in Hamtramck who want recreation and want to do what the things, are we providing that? So let me do an internal look to see, hey, what I can do as a director with my little limited staff, but still no excuse, let's make sure we having our community feel welcome as a department. So that was pretty much,
Got any ideas?
Not off the top of my head right now. Yeah, the pressure is.
Will you let us know something?
Yeah, I'll definitely let you know. But I think to answer your question, we did start that. And it started because, a real quick story, it started because the kids in the parking lot was hitting their cars at the pool, my cricket kids. And it all started from that, like people complaining, hey, these kids hitting the car, they need a place to play cricket. So we embraced them, hey, you don't need to play out there in cars, right? We'll give you an environment, a place to play, so you could feel welcome. And then right now, we got them playing every Friday, right, in the community center. We had them playing at Veterans Field and Playfair. So to answer your question, we do. Well, we did start that. It started awkward. You know, people complained about them hitting their cars, but it grew into a conversation in a comfort zone where they got my number. Hey, can we get in the community center? Yeah, we can get in. So to answer your question, yes. That's just the start. But we still gotta get better on that as well. So another thing, another session I went to, and then Ms. Hall had me when I was up here at one table about getting more young ladies and females participating in sports and activities. She mentioned that, and I went to that session. And one thing I noticed that we're not doing, what they said what we should be doing, is in our promotional material, and when we're trying to recruit young ladies, females, are we having them as the face of the flyer? Are we saying, hey, this is for you, right? You know, we want you to feel comfortable to participate. Internal thought process, like, wow, okay, let me go through my stuff. We're not really doing that. So Ms. Hall, I went to that, particularly with, not with you in mind, but the conversation we had here at this table got me to think, like, what are we doing? Are we doing that? And the answer was no. Like, we got females on, but we're not setting them up there like, hey, this is for you. Come join us, right? So that's one thing we need to do, and I recognize, hey, that's what we need to try to do as a department as well. Another thing, I tried to cram in so many, and at the end I'm gonna ask the board for a big favor. But one thing also, I went to about lifeguarding again, right? Not lifeguarding from a staffing standpoint, and we having a staff training tomorrow with my lifeguards where we're closing the pool, partially because of our trunk or treat, but also give me a chance to go in there and have a conversation to make sure we're guarding the way we're supposed to guard, right? And we know when lifeguards on the deck, their attention span tends to wane, right? What are we doing to make sure those things don't happen? Because we don't want to be one of those facilities that, God forbid, something happened to one of our participants and then we're liable, right? So we're going to have a staff training, not just about that, but making sure we're positioned right, our posture is right, making sure we know what patrons are in there, right? Do we have little kids who can't swim? Do we have adults in there who really don't need as much? And then making sure the parents, when we have an open swim, to make sure they're helping, not helping, but watching from the deck, right? So be another set of eyes to make sure the unthinkable don't happen here in Hamtramck, right? So it's just more preventative. Let's have this conversation as a department, as a director, with my aquatic staff, so we can make sure we don't have those issues going forward, or any of those issues going forward. One other thing I want to address is that in those conversations we had, just talking to different colleagues, this is not official, I know I'm wrapping up, but Tequila, Washington is our unofficial sister city, and I made that designation myself. And the reason why, because population 27,000, 7 different languages spoken in that community, very diverse community. So just having that conversation, so we decided, hey, starting in January, the assistant director and I, we're going to keep in contact, right, to see what they're doing out there. It's the suburb of Seattle. What they're doing out there compared to what we're doing here, and maybe we can, swap ideas, right? It might not be everything perfect, but some things that we can discuss. So we made an agreement starting the first of the year. Let's have a conversation, right, to see. And when we was talking, real quick story, all like 27,000, that sounds like my city. All these languages, oh yeah, that's my city. And we was like, we just hit it off and had a natural conversation, that natural connection because of the communities we serve. So my final thing, I put the total cost of the conference like it was asked to me. But my final thing next year is I do want to take my coordinator with me. And I know the cost, I think it's worth it. 271 sessions total with just myself. I try to do the best I can. I do, Ferndale had 3 of their staff, Detroit had 6. Oxford, so we all got together from a local standpoint to just discuss stuff, but I think it would be beneficial to my staff as well, so.
Sounds good.
Okay, all right, any questions? I'm sorry. Yeah.
Just, it says, say, as you're, reviewing the, advertising approach and whose face is on what piece of literature, I would encourage, a little bit deeper analysis of gender and, who is in what leadership roles, who's being hired for what coaching positions, who's actually doing the recruiting, who's answering the phones, a much deeper look at our system and how it encourages or doesn't encourage young women to participate.
All right, any other questions? No?
All right.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thanks. Okay, thank you.
All right, next up, we have our school improvement curriculum update from Ms. Wadad Lukman and Heather Derogi. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm gonna try to pull this up. So you said 7 to 10 minutes. What we're gonna do is, we're gonna skip the top part, but we'll talk about it throughout.
I mean, I don't want you to like skip anything important.
No, it's gonna, I'm just gonna skip it and talk about it
At
toward
the
the
end,
bottom of the
okay.
slides, but you'll have all the slides,
Yeah.
for you. Just a few things I'm gonna speak for Wendy, who's behind me, but Wendy, if I miss anything, please feel free to with me. So, the consolidated application was turned in, and it has officially been approved. So, that's a big yay, because last year it was approved, I think the final approval happened in May. That's why there was so much that had to be cleaned up and had to get to backtrack and do so much of that, but now it has been approved. It is completely clean and compliant for this year. Hats off to Wendy Thornton, and I know Nick Alicia Holiday is not here, yes, very deserved. The amount of work and time and hours that it went to go back to do this work, I can't even begin to tell you. Also, a huge thank you to Sherry Lyman, who just supported the whole process, so excellent job with that, but it is clean, it is compliant, and every single line item was vetted by MDE, and it is clear and approved. Carryover comes in November, so schools will have access to that line of budget, and then the remaining 5% allocation comes in December. So they'll be able to have a little bit more funding that's dispersed to them, and then be able to amend their title budgets, should there be any more, a need to do any amendments. ESSER committee met for the ESSER learning loss budget, so we had a deadline for ideas coming through from the members, I think November 4th, and then we're gonna schedule a meeting after that for the second meeting in November. There's a lot of things that have been established by the curriculum department, particularly for compliance issues that we had. And I'll briefly just list them off, won't go into detail, but an inventory monitoring and tracking system for any title purchase item or service is officially being tracked. An inventory labeling system that we have officially being tracked. Systemic district and school level budget worksheets have been established. A uniformed personnel activity report and reporting process was established, and an annual federal grants training program for building leaders. That implementation and logistics are coming soon, but that was officially created by Wendy Thornton, and so we'll be looking at getting administrators that information from there. I'll skip this slide for now because I'll talk about it later, but our friend Nate Talbot couldn't make it, so we'll present that to you all in a second. Do you want to present this slide?
Sure. So obviously this is kind of me in a nutshell. This is our DEIJ MTSS, and so this triangle represents each of the tiers. Tier 1 being our foundational support. Our Tier 2 is, of course, each time we move up. The second and third tier are where we're addressing the student needs specifically. So in using this, it's been created in our framework. It's been presented in our handbook so that administrators have been trained and staff have access and been trained in this model, and addresses both academic and behavioral tiers. So the one side would be considered a response to intervention on the academic end, and then the PBIS aspect would be the behavioral aspects. MTSS updates include weekly MTSS meetings that are beginning now that our fall state and local assessments have been completed. So this is beginning to roll out now. I'm in attendance for these, some of these MTSS meetings. I can't be at everyone's all of the time, but I'm getting into each building. The MTSS handbook was finalized and administrators received PD, and feedback was collected and applied. One of the things that we're asking on a PBS level of each building is that by the end of the year, they create an acronym that's associated with their mascot. In this case, Taubeda, thanks Taubeda, have the tigers, and they created this acronym for teamwork, integrity, gratitude, empathy, responsibility, and that all equals success. So these are going to be the character traits or the traits and values for the building, and they're going to develop lessons and have mentor texts. So at the beginning of the year, this is taught. It becomes a common language within their building. And then throughout the year, it is revisited. So for instance, if you are struggling in a classroom or in a building with something that requires empathy, you could always go back and revisit that these are the building values. Each building has their own, so that there's some autonomy attached to that building. So, there is historic work that we want to ensure that we commend and we acknowledge, and then also by creating one for each building, there's some consistency and continuity in that. So this is kind of where we are.
Do you want me to keep going with this, or?
Briefly, just because of time constraints, when we talk about equitable questions for MTSS, one of the things that we have, and we'll speak to a little bit later, is EduClimber. So this was a data management system that was really imperative for us to be able to house the data that we are collecting through these MTSS meetings. And these questions specifically can be addressed by using EduClimber. So looking at academic gaps between groups of students, we can drill down to that using EduClimber. Groups of students that are attending, attendance data, also through EduClimber. Any overrepresentation of groups on our behavioral data. We know that this is something that, is not just a problem in our district, in our state, but nationwide. So, of course, this would all lead to the equitable lens that we need to keep as we continue. So, these are questions that we're asking and keeping in mind in every MTSS meeting so that they're always fluid in what we are seeing as a lens, right? How students and staff are thinking and feeling about equity and inclusion in their schools. This is going to be part of the feedback that we're getting from our climate and culture survey that was pushed out. So what we're hoping is that that question will be addressed now, and then we'll revisit it at the end of the year to see what changes we've been able to make through some of this implementation. Just some updates. Cultural Competence Engagement Committee is what we're going to start to develop. So by the end of the year, this is in place. And this is just kind of our take on, I feel like my job here is to ensure that every single student, every single stakeholder feels visible, feels voiced. When that happens, then they feel valued. And if we're missing a component of that, we are not allowing our students to feel safe, we are not allowing our families to feel safe, and we're not allowing them to bring their authentic selves when they come in. We're basically asking them to check some part of themselves at the door, and that's not equitable. That's not part of our DEIJ work. So this is a representation of where we want to be. We want to be where everyone is feeling voiced and visible. That's how they're going to feel valued. What the survey is going to tell us is that true? And if it's not, where are we, and how do we make movements to ensure that that's what's happening?
So some kind of deeper dives into the curriculum instruction and assessments, shifting a little bit of the years. What we had to do is to look at, and I give you a visual in a couple of seconds when I flip to a couple of other slides to kind of understand the magnitude of work that had to happen, but the main thing we wanted to do is have consistency, continuity, and compliance. So we simplified, stabilized, and unified curriculum instructional practices, assessments, resources, and professional development, had vertical and horizontal alignment K-12. The EL departments held meetings to share SIOP trainings and options, so we've had 14, but I believe there's more now, participants that were interested in taking that training, and then they shared out ESL endorsement reimbursement programs, and we're finding that teachers are actually interested. So what's nice about this is that we can address some of the issues in language acquisition needs through the teachers that are taking these courses. Classrooms have been structured to support language acquisition and meet compliance, but more importantly, we're shifting our thinking to say, all classrooms are language acquisition classrooms, right? If our district is moving up high 60% as EL learners, then what we have to say is every classroom is a language acquisition classroom. Access to core curriculum assessments for all students. There's equal and equitable professional development resources and supports. So we literally had to go through, figure out which teachers got what training in every single school, level that playing field, and then give them differentiated professional development at the beginning of the school year to ensure every single teacher got the training that any other teacher got. And so it's all been leveled out this year. We created systems and processes to support teachers and administrators to meet regulatory requirements and mandates. The curriculum department, special ed department, and EL department are working together to address the needs of all learners. And then what the board should expect, just so you all know, is in February, you are supposed to, this is a mandate, get a presentation on the aggregated scores. and you get a second one in June for there to be a comparative, analysis for you all to see. So we had a roadmap, and this visual was actually shared out with every single literacy, math, and science committee that was created with the teachers last school year. We got to the point, we did a district needs assessment, the teachers got to discuss what the data said, and it was an enlightening conversation. Then we developed our shared visions, which was shared out to the board, and it was uploaded onto our curriculum website. But then when we got to the curriculum review cycle, we had a huge roadblock. The district did not have a data management hub in which you collected local, district, or statewide data. That means there wasn't data to tell the story from an objective view for us to drive a curriculum review cycle. So when we hit that roadblock, we kind of looked at our action plan and said, okay, what is it that we need to do? Number one, there are mandates and things required by law that we had to attend to. So conducting comprehensive needs assessments, completing comparability reports, continuing our own internal audit and continuous improvement process. We had to develop, we're in the process of looking at developing a curriculum map and scope and sequence with Ray and Risa. We had to complete review cycles, but this requires the committee engagements, and then the surveys, hopefully getting the Hanover survey, the feedback back from there, we can use that to drive some of the work that we're doing. But there's a huge need for updating the strategic framework to meet the learning loss and post-pandemic needs. So this is addressed at director meetings and network meetings. But ultimately, that strategic framework is directly tied to a portrait of graduate, which I think the Ed Leader 21 team and Mr. Nidji might share more about. From there, we had to take a huge step back and look at our balanced assessment systems. Again, this district did not have it. I'm not gonna go deep dive into this, but what we had was basically the top green, which is the state. We had the state level assessment, which was iReady for this past year. That gives you a window into the equitable learning opportunities across the state. This is what the state uses to look at us as a district. In regards to district and classroom, those didn't exist this past year, and there was no data collected in a housing spot. So what we did from there is we kind of looked at it and then realized, okay, iReady was being used as the one assessment to address all three layers. There is no single assessment that can be used to support all three. And so that takes away from the ability for teachers to use at a classroom level that monitoring and adjusting and guiding instruction data, the ability to inform parents and students about the learning plot process, and then the progress monitoring that is required for MTSS and the framework. That had to be developed. Then on the second level, which is the district level, that's where everyone should be able to access specific benchmark data so that we can predict learning, evaluate the curriculum and programs that we're investing in, and inform the student services and placement decisions. This is what helps us decide, like, okay, do we need more teachers? Do we need more special offerings for high school? Whatever the case may be. And so once we figured all that out, this is just a visual of what it looked like with literacy for this district when we got in. We had curriculums like Words Their Way, Wordly Wise, FMP LI remnants. We had the Jan Richardson phonics. We had 2 different phonics programs. We had 8 schools functioning in 8 complete silos using different curriculums, and to no fault of their own, but it was never brought centralized, and then the whole pedagogy and approach that was used through the MESA unit, which I'll explain in a second, / Lucy Calkins units, is the curriculum that they were using, but they were never officially trained on the workshop model. So you were giving teachers access to a curriculum without professional development to support their learning process and the implementation of the workshops, and therefore you couldn't actually say that the low scores that we're seeing are due to a failure of the program, rather not providing necessarily teachers with what they needed in order to run it successfully. We had an unclear literacy vision, the workshop model was weak, inconsistent guiding reading approach, 2 different phonics programs, and only for some schools. Some schools got it, some schools did not, and some schools got the training, some schools did not. So it just sat there for a minute. There was no MTSS framework, and no intervention programs that were specified, and then there was no common benchmark assessments. We went in, cleared it up a little bit, I'm gonna pass these up. Basically, this is what it looks like now. You have a completely aligned K-8 vertically and horizontally aligned model, but it also is connected to the type of learning that's happening at the high school. Now, to clarify some misconceptions about the model, the MESA units versus Lucy Calkins, I want to be very clear. There was absolutely no new curriculum introduced for ELA whatsoever this year. The MESA units, and this is a screenshot of what teachers have access to. This is what they call the MESA units, and if you notice I underlined, I know it's really small, it says the reading workshop, and then you'll notice P and Q reading levels are things that I underlined. Over here, you'll notice what I circled on the left is the lesson plan sequence. And if you notice under the resources on the right, underlined is Lucy Calkins. So to explain this a little bit to you, these sessions that you see on the left are identical to the Lucy Calkins curriculum. What we did this year is we said, clearly not every school is utilizing the MESA units because they're digital, and it was lacking the mentor texts that come with it. They didn't get the actual mentor text. They did not get the anchor chart material that is required for the workshop model. They didn't get the digital resources and articles or videos that came with it because they were accessing the Lucy Calkins curriculum through the MESA units. So what we did is we provided everybody with the actual kits. So now you can access the MESA units. You can access your actual lessons and sessions, but you also have your anchor charts and the resources to teach the curriculum. If teachers were not aware of these two being the same, that could be the product of two things. In conversation with Wayne Reese, representative, just I think yesterday, the day before, I think it was yesterday, it was because one, it could be that number one, we had COVID for the past 2 years, and so people just didn't know how to use it, but we also had a huge turnover, right? So people may not know, but it is the exact same curriculum. And actually MESA went in and updated to the brand new Lucy Calkins curriculum, which has this science of reading embedded in it. And hopefully we'll get to that point, but what teachers have been given now is the same exact thing they've had this entire time. So the clarifications, there is no movement to a new ELA curriculum. That would require board approval anyway, but what we did is honor the work of the past. We simplified, solidified, and unified the entire district's tier 1, which is a mandate. We provided the hands-on digital resources for all of them for equal and equitable access of core curriculum. We've provided phase 1 of professional development, equal and equitable access to professional development. And then FMP assessments were where now we address that issue and need for that local and district-wide assessment. If you recall in this part right here where I showed you PQ reading levels, in the past you all used DRA, which is a number letter system. When we connected with administrators, many of them said that they didn't necessarily have those kits anymore. Long story short, we had a brand new turnover of staff. We needed to establish a reading assessment. It was either DRA or FMP. DRA is not aligned to Lucy Calkins curriculum. It is not aligned to the MESA units. FMP is, and FMP is approved by the state. So we utilize that, as well as the fact that that is a benchmark assessment system that allows for the diagnostics that are necessary for teachers to use for their everyday instruction. It also addresses, if you go to the very bottom of the screen, the 40% of teacher evaluation which is based on data. This is required by law. If we don't have the 20% local data for teachers to use, we're not compliant. So we had that 20% standardized assessment data from iReady, we didn't have the 20% local data. And that's where we have the FMP right now, writing on demands and the benchmark assessments that the district will be collecting through EduClimber. Addressing the needs for new curriculums, I'm gonna tell you this, we are incredibly short-staffed. I am literally growing gray hairs overnight. I know Heather Derogi has been trying to support, but we cannot, I would say it would be irresponsible of me to say, I'm just gonna move on to any new curriculum without undergoing a curriculum review cycle which requires data, without addressing the committees that I'm currently supporting, the literacy, math, and science committees. We don't even have a social studies one yet. And I have to move in a responsible manner because there are so many feelings about curriculum right now in this district. If I were to move on feelings, we would have 8 different curriculums. We would have the same issue that the district has had in the past. And so we're only going to move forward with that in a strategic manner that requires the curriculum review cycle and the curriculum selection process. That has to come to you, to the board at the very end, after it's been met with the committees, and that would be for you to approve at the end any new curriculum. Best practices require this every 3 to 5 years. The district does not have curriculum review cycles that I have access to ever. So there is no remnants of this for me to look at. No one on my team has been able to find anything like this. And the data needs to drive that selection process. So it's not enough to say this curriculum isn't working if we find out that teachers never actually use the curriculum. I think from there, after that, just figuring out the curriculum selection process, we have to understand it has to align with the district vision, the mission statements, the continuous improvement process. There has to be a huge part of this that we meet with Sherry with about fiscal responsibility, because is this financially sustainable? I can't just go purchase a curriculum if I find out that I have to spend $800,000 a year on it, and there's no one to pay for it. And then we have to consider the embedding of performance assessments, district benchmark assessments, and system and statewide assessments. And then, from there, we have to figure out, is there coaching? Is there professional development and systems of support? I can't launch a new curriculum if I don't have coaches, if I don't have support systems built in to support teachers to do it. And so, when we're talking about new curriculums in the future, know that there's so many layers to this before I can ever move on to even choosing one, because there has to be a dissection process of what's happened in the past. So what it kind of looked like before, visuals are always great for me. The white part is what we had as a district. We had those 3 things set up. We now have this part set up. The blue part is in a circle because right now this is our curriculum, but we don't have these things in place. Everyday math requires us to create our own common benchmark assessments. And then if we are to use our everyday math unit assessments for check-ins and understandings, we would have to do data collection for them. We're not exactly there yet. But we have filled in for reading and for math for district and local assessments for everyone there as well. I didn't want to finish this one.
Sure. I guess this is just to wrap up kind of what our team has been working tirelessly on. These are the steps that we've been able to make and the action that we have taken since June. So we have created a district-wide K-12 MTSS framework and handbook. It has unified the forms that are used in every building and unified the process and practice so that every single building is doing the exact same thing, so that when we come together to discuss data, it is the same data, is common data. Otherwise, we can't compare them. We've developed a balanced assessment system that Ms. Luckman was just discussing, and it's done fall, winter, and spring, so we can demonstrate growth throughout the year and continue to analyze. Launched EduClimber as the data and MTSS hub. This is again where we're going to be able to drill down. This is where our benchmark data is gathered. Our teachers are putting it into Illuminate. It automatically pushes over to the EduClimber, and then our weekly MTSS meetings, we can look at this data specifically to drive those meetings, but then fall, winter, and spring, it helps us to guide what are our next steps, what's not working. We're constantly going through that cycle. And then, of course, we're not just looking at academics. We have to also consider the behavior and attendance data that's present, because those make a huge impact on what we see with our academic data. We developed a unified K-12 ODR process. This has been something that's ongoing and continues to evolve, thanks to the feedback from administrators and from buildings. But what we have created is now we're looking at majors and minors being tracked for the first time. We were not sub-compliant. We had some issues with our bullying reports and the laws. We have to have an anti-bullying system so that we are collecting now the majors and minors so that we can look for early warning systems. What is happening with our students? Can we identify before it becomes a major that there's an issue that we need to address with students? So that is what EduClimber again is helping us do in buildings. And then again at the district level, we can have district meetings with administrators, fall, winter, and spring, to not just look at this at a building level, but at a district level as well. We are officially completing 31A, and 31A is at-risk student funding. And this is kind of where all of our work has been pointing to. Then at the end it says HBS is leading the way in DEIJ and MTSS. And I just wanted to point out that I was lucky enough to attend the EduLeader 21 conference. And we were, one of the few and proud who had a DEI presence at that conference. There was a DEIB, Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging, which was a wonderful thing to hear. But, there wasn't a lot of representation of my job, and there was a lot of interest in what I'm doing. And I get to speak to the wonderful team that I am a part of, and all of the ways that I get to guide and facilitate equitable actions, culturally responsive pedagogy, and how we're going to move as a district in ensuring that every single person, every single student feels voiced, visible, and valued here.
So to share just some work in progress, we're not gonna go deep dive, but we're creating frameworks. You'll see that it says draft on it. There are things that we're developing in regards to what our instructional platform will look like. We're doing it for every single one. Science is kind of the strongest one right now, and mainly due to high school kind of leading the way with the work that they've been doing there. So we're trying to build that kind of going down. We're trying to do the same thing with social studies, except that one's a little bit tricky because the standards are just getting accepted, accepted by the state, and we're gonna work closely with Risa in that regard. But we'll leave you with this: the future is bright, and our focus is the future, and students first, and our striving for excellence. So a couple things. Again, thank you, Wendy Thornton. She applied for these UMIC grants. We're looking to upgrade spaces to become more 21st century-esque. We've got that for Dickinson West and KMS. We're looking for other technologies, and so Wendy applied for these grants. We're looking to hear possibly back by February to kind of start looking at our spaces where our kids are working. There's amazing things that are happening. Suit Up Challenge is the first time high school students ever participated in it. It's kind of an entrepreneurship thing. They won first place the first time they ever did it. We have students like Uday Perone, who, I hope I said his name right, who have been recognized. If you haven't had a chance to listen to the interview that this child had, it's amazing. In regards to the way that he's tracking the air quality. And our students are doing this right. Esports was recognized again. Jessica Madden and William, our friend in the back, working with the ski boarding and the ski and snowboarding club and the outdoor adventure club. Students are hiking, biking, canoeing, rock wall climbing, camping, skiing, and snowboarding, and as you can tell from the pictures, our girls are in there too. We had just recently, the students decorated the high school hallways. Central office was invited to vote, and it was perhaps one of the funnest things we did. It was the most interactive, session that we had with the kids. It was super, super fun. So great things are happening. PLTW STEAM in Holbrook, we had our students, and if you get a chance to look at the slides separately, look at the work that they're doing. They had a design challenge, real world challenge, where they had designed an ankle foot for orthosis with a child with cerebral palsy that is strong, comfortable, and affordable. They had to figure out how much it would cost. They had to use the constraints and they had constraints that they had to abide by, and then to use the material that they were given to create this orthosis. And so our kids were creating this and sharing it on their jam boards. So thank you to Kelly Conwell for leading the way with that. Kids from DW sent out thousands of hearts to Ukraine and to Yemen, to other children there. We have kids that are working the workshop model outside and inside the classrooms, teachers that are collaborating and working with our students, and our kids are engaged and they're having fun. There's growth happening, great things are happening, and that's where our focus is gonna be from here on out, so.
Thank you for all your hard work. Does anybody have any questions for them?
Yes.
Go ahead, Mr. Major.
This might be another best suited for the next COW meeting or a future one, if you agree, but so a lot of what you presented, was incredibly important work and is, you know, like as a systems person, I'm very excited to listen to all the ins and outs of everything you shared, and I appreciate your work and thank you. But it's a lot of back of the house kind of stuff, you know, and not as much front facing you know, and I know you're gonna build this so that we can, you know, have more effective programs that are touching, you know, students and teachers, but can you give now, or could we ask for, you know, in a future meeting, a more detailed assessment or breakdown of what is currently in place as our, you know, tier 2 and 3 interventions, academic and behavioral, who is referred to them, how many actually make it through that process, what the results are, because I think, you know, that obviously is where the rubber meets the road and where we see meaningful change.
Yeah, so
The systems are working or not.
I can answer part of that. One of the things we have to do is, number one, establish it and get it going so that it's district-wide, especially with MTSS. We also have to get to a point where there's a shared understanding of how the MTSS framework and the process and the tiered support systems run. Right now, I think we're still working on getting everyone to understand how it's supposed to function. And what we need people to start recognizing is that addressing the bottom 20% doesn't necessarily mean you're addressing all students that have low scores, if that makes sense. And so it's bridging the gap from the top and the bottom. There's a lot of foundational work that needs to happen before we can move to the next step. However, there is a clear definition of what those processes are. And if you'd like, we can share the MTSS handbook with you. That's available online as well. We uploaded, I believe, on the website. It's there for everyone to see. Our next steps were to get it translated in different languages so people can see what it's like. But that MTSS handbook basically spells out every single little thing, even how meetings are conducted when we're addressing some words. Did you want to answer that?
Okay. Yeah, I appreciate that, and I will look more into how it is structured and intended to operate. I just like the data and the details on how it is operating.
Yep, but we can share that. Do you want me? I'll send it to you.
Please.
Whenever.
I'll share it.
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
I got one more question. I'm glad that we're in compliance this year
Yeah.
and all the work that you
Thank
guys
you.
have done. Thanks. What's the status of the previous years? Are you guys still working on that, or what?
So, a lot, again, Nicoletia Holiday is no longer with the district. We're feeling her loss. She went back and created journal entries. This woman cleaned up house for us before she left, and she stayed till the last day doing that. So I am confident in her work. I'm confident in her abilities and the greatness that she possessed. And so there were journal entries that were created, and I think Sherry can speak more to that. That we cleaned that up. Budgets were cleaned up, and even account numbers. She went in and cleaned up even account numbers that were screwed up. So absolutely, that's been cleaned up. And in the future, it's, I think, just a matter of, you know, doing it again. The systems are in place to support it now.
Anybody else have any questions? That's it for me. No? Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, next up, we have Ms. Joy Danforth and Kim Warnowski for the EL,
The ed leader.
the Ed Leader 21 conference.
Just a long night. So I tell them pause for a second?
No.
Okay.
Ms. Murphy, can you help me out?
Yeah, I got you. So I was just waiting to.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Gets me to move out of my seat for a little.
We greatly appreciate that. Good evening. We would like to first, before we even start, we want to just recognize and thank the board for allowing us to present tonight. And we also would like to thank you for allowing us the opportunity to attend the Ed Leader 21 conference. It was very enlightening, very empowering, and inspirational for all of us. It was a really great chance for us to collaborate as admin, teachers, and central office staff, and really look around visionary things and really have some hope for the future. As you all know, we've had some very difficult times throughout the district. It was a very hopeful time for us to be able to sit and really not just dream about what this district could become, because we know the potential that we possess here in this district, but it was also very, very helpful that we were just doing practical things to actually talk about what are those practical steps to make those things come into fruition. So we appreciate you greatly for allowing us to go, and we appreciate Ms. Luckman and our illustrious superintendent for affording us this opportunity. So with that.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so here we're starting with our strategic framework. There was a large committee pre-pandemic that created a new vision and mission and statements for which we believe in. So just to review these, this is at our forefront of what we do with goals intended and everything we do in mind. So with the Ed Leader 21 conference, we learned about what portrait of a graduate was, the portrait of an educator, a leader, and also systems that need to be in place to move our district forward, to go ahead and build what we were dreaming of and what we're capable of doing. So along with revisiting our pre-pandemic vision and mission statement, we need to make sure that they do encompass our new MTSS framework and handbook that has been created this year and provided schools as a guidance. We want it also to reflect the post-pandemic challenges that we face with the gaps in our learning and, of course, those achievement gaps for our students. We want everyone to become global leaders, whether they're students, educators, central office staff, community members, everyone involved, all stakeholders.
Yes, just as she said, so as we continue to review our vision and look at how we must align it for our post-pandemic goals, we want to make sure that we're collaborating with all stakeholders, creating partnerships with community leaders, educators, families, so that we know that what we envision for the district aligns with the vision and the community values, and making sure that we're aligning those things, that we're involving all stakeholders, policymakers, and we're really bridging that gap and we're really making those partnerships that are sustainable and long-lasting. And then so this is just an example of one of the schools. So when we went, there were all of these vision boards kind of all around the entire conference. And it was really inspiring to see because we had people at different levels, some 1 year in, some a few years in, some 5, 6 years in, that are still attending the conference and still refining what their vision or their portrait of a graduate is. And they're constantly refining their school visions or their portrait of their visions to align with what they want to see a graduate be when they leave their school district, from pre-K all the way up to through alternative ed and also adult ed even, so it doesn't stop at 12th grade. So this is just one example here, and this is kind of a more simplified one, and like I said, they're all at different stages. This is another one that's a little bit more refined, and we can send you this because we're not gonna read all these points to you, but they become more refined as the years go by and as they revisit each year, as they revisit what a portrait of a graduate should be. And a lot of talk was around not just 21st century, because we're already in the 21st century, right? So a lot of talk was not just about 21st century leaders and global leaders, but 22nd century. Like, what are we building for generations to come within our district, within our community? So you continue to refine what you want to see as a portrait of a graduate. And I'm gonna keep going. Okay, so we continued with developing our portrait of a graduate, working with the end in mind, making sure that we're gonna reshape our strategic plan. So as Kim really reminded us, that we started with a really big group pre-pandemic, where we were in here, we had vision boards all over, papers all over, we were refining what our vision was and developing our mission statement, but really making sure that we're constantly reshaping it to address the needs of the district and of the community, and that we're aligning our portrait of a graduate with what that is, and making sure we're equipping our teachers with the right support, that we're empowering and that we're enabling our schools to develop global leaders, so that it's not just a vision that we post on our website, but all of the support that comes to back that up to make sure that we're actually producing that.
So this here is just a visual of different competencies that we would value as we merge into a global leader, building our 22nd century generation to come. Becoming critical thinkers all the way down to being flexible and having self-awareness. So you're gonna see the integration of social emotional learning that accompanies these competencies. The previous slides that you had seen from Ohio, and then the other district from the one that was more in depth, from high school district, Kansas, yeah. So they are growing, they are merging, but everything they do goes back to portrait of a graduate. So all the curriculum updates that you were able to see with their presentation will be built and redefined, revisited, and reflected upon as we build these portrait of a graduates. But one thing we have to keep in mind as a district, we're building ourselves as a whole. Again, going all the way from pre-K, all the way post, past graduation, going to adult education, alternative education, building our leaders, building our community members. We all is a collective bargaining unit as one. And so you'll see as we go further on, just the drive and motivation, the energy, it was just so great.
So we're gonna transition and allow space for the teachers to talk about it from an educator's perspective. So let me just know, tell me next.
I think the first year on Hanan's, she couldn't make it.
Yes, unfortunately, one of our members, Hanan from East, she was unable to make it, so she helped to develop this as well.
I can speak. So this was one of the things, if you look, she built this slide. A lot of what we talked about as we were together as a team was like some of the challenges we faced at the end of last year. And one of the refrains that the teacher said was, we need to rebuild trust, and we need to rebuild a sense of hope, both at the student level and at the staff level in the district. And I think if you look at this, the idea is that being hopeful, and she built these slides, but I interpret them my own way. Being hopeful gets thwarted if enough things go wrong. So if you bounce to the next slide, what'll happen is, if you go to that second bump down, that's kind of where we ended last year as a teacher at HHS. You got a lot of reflection of that last board meeting, obviously. Right, so the staff was very upset that things were feeling broken, and the kids were less in tune with that sense of brokenness, but they were starting to feel it. And so a lot of the reflection we gave to the superintendent and amongst each other was, we gotta fix this, we gotta change it by establishing trust and getting through this place so we don't land in that apathetic place. As a classroom teacher, I can see which one of my students are stuck in that apathetic place and which ones are valuing their time in the building, right? And so we wanna go past that. And I think my takeaway from some of the workshops that we did was, as a reflection as a teacher, how do I get through that being a barrier, because I'm stuck in my norms and my rules and I don't see the assets that the kid has. And so I think one of the things that I thought of a lot was, if we can really focus on the assets that our kids have instead of the deficiencies, the scores, where we see them in a matrix on a statewide level, but we really focus on the sort of cultural responsive pedagogy that we want to be as teachers, it'll lift these kids up, but we need to be trained in that. right? So that's something that we need to, you know, it's like, and getting to see other districts where they've been doing it for 20 years and they've gotten through this. I think if you go one more slide, there is a sense of hope. Like, it was amazing as a teacher to network with people doing the same job I have, who've been at it for 10 years in a district that's progressively gotten better and better. They were total masters of their game, and they were delivering great product to their kids. And so to see them, for me, was a chance to kind of like recharge the hope battery as a teacher and say, okay, this is, you know, this is where I want to be. So thank you for the opportunity to go and do that.
Are you did not say that?
Yeah, sorry.
Get the next one.
Okay.
Is that also,
Yeah, that was gonna, I'm sorry.
Okay, yeah, I just wanna do this one.
Mhm.
I showed this slide, cause Dr. Brad Johnson, if you know him in education, famous educator, huge teacher advocate, and his two sons of possible school culture is exactly, to me, what we need. I'm not gonna go through all 10, but the two particular ones I highlighted, what you talked about, was number 4 and 5. Number 4, communication. It has to be a two-way street. Not just from teachers to students, not just us all the time, but like admin to teachers, not just admin, school board to admin, down to teachers to students and to the community. And that's something that's, before we can, to me, get into postgraduate and do any kind of curriculum, academic, that's, any relationship needs communication. And in this district, that's where we're really struggling in. And like we said, number 5, everything begins with trust. As teachers, last year, including myself, I speak for myself and my building, Denise, it was the most challenging year of my life as a teacher last year, to not just give up and quit and leave like a lot of my colleagues and friends did. And kids, last year, kids come to me, ask me, are you next? Miss Graves, are you leaving too? And it just broke my heart. And I had my own troubles to deal with this summer, because literally I was a signature away from not coming back to Hamtramck myself, because I didn't see any hope. I was in that part where I was just too angry and I didn't see any future until, you know, me and McKnight, we talked. I was invited to the leadership conference, and I chose to stay before I came to conference, but that just reaffirmed that, okay, we at least have a start, let's take a step forward. And this whole conference is, like everybody said, just was the most impactful conference I've ever been to. And it's at the school district, usually we get the normal PDs, someone comes speak to us or on Zoom or like blah, 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 and teachers, we just kind of like ignoring it, like blah, blah, blah. But this, actually talking to other teachers that's going through the same thing I went through, sharing our stories, not knowing it's just not just us, not just Hamtramck, not just Michigan. We're all going through the same thing and the same trauma. And for us as teachers to get to that point where we want to be as a district, starts with trust and communication. We talk about transparency with the school board and administration, and even with the curriculum, like with teachers, as being in the classroom, we're the ones implementing these plans, and with the kids, they look to us first. They don't know you guys like they know us. They don't know the principal like they know me, and they trust me and communicate with me. But when teachers start not feeling that from administration or their principals, it goes out to teachers, and the kids see that. A lot of them, I think they saw that last year, and really upset that they lost certain teachers that they loved and had to leave. And that we need a positive school culture. We gotta stop the stuff in the past. It's in the past. We know we need to let it go. But first we gotta acknowledge that trauma that teachers have been through, and we are still going through, just like students are, teachers are too. But, you know, unfortunately, people forget about teachers have families and lives too. So I think with those 10 signs of positive by Dr. Brad Johnson, like I said, we can't even begin to start reshaping HBS without trust. One step into trust is like between classroom teachers and admin and our school board. It's like we just did. Inviting staff to 10 words, conference like Ed Leader 21. It totally gave me a little more energy to, you know what, we can do this. I want to be part of something big. I don't want to keep bouncing from school to school and just teaching these community kids. I want to be part of change. And I think this postgraduate is as a teacher, it motivates me to want to see that change here in Hamtramck. So that's my takeaway.
So I like how you said the big picture, you want to be part of something big, and I feel that's a common ground. The admin team you have, we're going to be part of something big. Hopefully, a lot of the members here will be part of something big, and so the next piece that we're going to speak on is our perspective and the sessions that we chose to join and which had the largest impact for us as leaders. So the first one we're going to speak about is change your classrooms, change the world. So here we learned a lot about integration strategies, leadership coaching that's available through the building of Portrait of a Graduate, exemplar activities for global competitiveness. We want our children to be able to compete in the world outside of Hamtramck, outside of what we're able to provide them now. We want to go larger, go big, or stay home, right? That's the common language. The Portrait of a Graduate supports the alignment of our district improvement MyKIP goals. Everything we do, we're going to reflect on Portrait of a Graduate, the symbols we choose, the verbiage we choose, the language, the pictures, anything we want is gonna be who we become and who we are transforming our students to be to help change the future to be better for everybody. It helps prioritize initiatives, including PBIS, all the data that we're doing through EduClimber. It's going to shape our Portrait of a Graduate. Including social emotional, I know I mentioned that, and school improvement goals. So the next couple slides that Joy will speak on, there's this school, again, they've been doing it for a very long time. Rome was not built overnight, but to see what it can become, oh my goodness. They're doing phenomenal things, and we're ready to meet them there and do phenomenal things as well, further than what you've seen that we're already doing.
So Kim is absolutely right. Some of these sessions were so inspiring, but they didn't do it overnight. The one that I'm going to talk about right now was 5 years in the making, and they were in their 6th year, and they had talked about, and they had really worked to make sure, this was Valverde, Unified School District in California, and they were so impressive because they started out very much like we did, and they did little small things. And what they decided is they wanted their kids to have very practical but authentic learning. And they started with something as small as, and what they did was they made sure they built their vision in ways that impacted leadership, that inspired ingenuity, innovation, creativity. They made sure that their vision, they continue to refine their vision year after year to support educators through this journey to engage students on deeper levels. And so they talked about authentic learning a lot. And this was 5 years in the making, again, I'm gonna say, and they continue to revisit and reshape their vision so they can do this. And how they did it, they started with something as simple as a community garden. That community garden, they began to network and teach their students. I'm talking about elementary level students all the way up through high school, where it became a district-wide thing that they all participated in, with networking, marketing, building partnerships with local businesses so that the local businesses were purchasing their produce to sell in the local grocery markets. It got so big that even the local winery, because they have a lot of wineries in California, started to purchase their grapes, and the district now makes a profit off of selling their grapes to the local winery, and then the older students learn how to process those things. They went all the way from labeling, learning how to design the labels on the bottles, how to market. Student created 100%, and they get 100% of the profit. And so it started something as small as a community garden, became something so huge and beautiful in a district-wide way, where we're building global leaders all the way down from kindergartners just planting the seed, all the way up to 12th graders marketing and designing labels and creating networks and partnerships with community leaders. So the Portrait of a Graduate, what I want you guys to understand, it does not start. A lot of times, we don't even start talking about career readiness until 9th grade. We start, what do you want to be, what do you want to do, let's start on these tracks. This starts the moment a student enrolls in Hamtramck Public Schools, all the way down to pre-K. If we want entrepreneurs, we talk about entrepreneurship on the level of a kindergartner, all the way up through. If we want doctors and lawyers, we start talking about those things down on the level of kindergarten, pre-K, all the way up through alternative ed and adulthood. It does not start at 9th grade. And so this is kind of one of the things they did, and I don't know how to do this. I think I don't. Maybe I know more than I think I do. I Okay, here we go, yeah. No, no.
Would it be
Go,
president?
no.
I didn't touch
Go
it.
to the Google, I got it.
Oh, you're trying to get to Google, okay.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Okay. Okay. Now you might have to press that play button.
Okay.
Okay.
So this is Val Verde, California.
Thank you.
We're excited to share Val Verde's Portrait of a Graduate with you today. Our journey included the involvement of all stakeholders in collaborative conversations around supporting future-ready students at all grade levels. Our community came together to identify the characteristics,
Did I do that?
No, it's loading.
skills, and attitudes we believe our students should be equipped with upon graduation. The results were overwhelming and clearly supported the 4 C's, along with flexibility and perseverance. This experience has allowed us to spotlight and communicate our community's dedication and passion for 21st century teaching and learning.
Okay, so I'm gonna try to, can you open up the PowerPoint one more time
Yeah.
for me, please, Mr. Radish? And then put it on
Is that current, what is current slide?
Yes. This is the first time I get to tell my boss what to do.
Okay, first current
Okay,
slide.
to present, thank
There
you,
we
yes,
go.
thank you.
I got it, success.
Thanks, okay. And so Kim,
So again, in the video, I just want to point out, they mentioned all stakeholders, they went back to their competencies that they deemed most important to elaborate on their portrait of graduate, and how they are creating 21st century competitive students when they get into that job market. So then other session we decided to join was getting to the root to get going. So okay, how do we get started? We're ready to run a marathon at this point. And this was very, very practical. We can bring it back to our buildings and use it when identifying a problem and getting to the root cause of it. So here you have, in our little group, we were with different leaders from different areas and states. So our proposed problem was, first generation students are less likely to enter 4-year universities. What were our whys? Why were they less likely to enter the 4 universities? So we started listing the problems. So you'll see there the lack of exposure and guidance, socioeconomic status, being disengaged from school, expectations, maybe it's family, or I was told by my high school counselor that I would never go to college. And here I am today, right? Life circumstances, so things, you know, they may not have in their control, they might have in their control. Alternate avenues. And the arrows are pointing to, when you speak of the lack of exposure or guidance, what is that directly related to? This is a mind shift, a thinking change, where we go from pointing to you, he, she, or they, and we start talking about we and us. We want to focus on what are the variables that we can't control, because we're so quick to say, oh, it's their home life, you know, we have to stop that. But we have to change our mindset, because these children are capable of, they can achieve. And we need to have everyone have that mind frame. So this frame of thinking, identifying the problem, identifying root causes, and find out how can we best support our students with this symbol, portrait of a graduate, to be the people we know they can become and achieve. And so here is just another way, again, identifying the problem. What are our barriers? Again, thinking of we and us, not him, she, they. And then how can we best support our students? So it was really inspiring, because a lot of times you sit down, when you have a problem, you start to talk about solutions, you talk about your uncontrollable variables. What can we control, and how can we best support our students? And it was empowering. Of course, it seems like, well, duh, this is obvious, right? But when you get into identifying problems, you often lead to complaining and, again, discussing things you can't control. So this was just something real applicable, you can bring back to the buildings and apply now. It was great.
and the last session we went to many sessions, these are the highlights. So, the job alike session, which was, for us, it was from administrator to administrator, so it was all peers in the room. We were talking about very practical things of how to look at things kind of in chunk size bites, because, you know, a lot of times you look at big pictures and it feels very overwhelming, and you gotta look at some snapshots so that you can feel like it's doable, right? And so the job alike session, we were able to sit down and really talk to people in different stages of this process to see where they were. And one thing that we noticed is that authentic learning kept coming back, the global leadership kept coming back, and discussing the scaffolding of the portrait or of a graduate. So that means that thinking about, fine, we know what a portrait of a graduate may look like, but what is a portrait of an 8th grader once they leave, middle school to go and transition into high school? What's a portrait of a 6th grader when he gets ready to leave DW and go over to KMS? So that I'm not just kind of pushing my kids off on KMS like, well, we tried, but did they complete the picture of that portrait, and did we fulfill our vision for that student before they left me? And so having those conversations of how to scaffold the portrait of a graduate so that we are reaching them from the time they enroll all the way through high school, so that we're not continuing to kick the can down the road, if that makes sense. So having those conversations about continuing to shape 21st and 2nd century students and scaffolding them to where they need to be and preparing them for whatever it is that they have the talent and potential to do in life. And to do it in a sustainable and applicable way, making sure that the teachers have the strategies, that they have the tools, that the administrators in the buildings have the supplies, the strategies, the supports and the tools as well, and the ongoing training and collaboration that has to happen as a district to make these things happen. It can't just be from my brain for just my DW students, but Kim and I and the rest of our administrators, we all have to have a shared vision of what we want our students to look like.
We are excited to Hamtramck our portrait of a graduate.
Yes. We thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. We hope to involve more people next year as well. Hopefully we get approved for more folks to attend as well.
All right, next up we have Dr. Abed for the VLI department.
Hey guys, good evening guys.
Good evening.
Nabil, help me.
Which one? Oh.
Good evening, everybody.
I can't read that, I'm not that tall. Can you read?
Oh, you want?
Where is that?
And the slide, there you go.
Close it.
You can just minimize it. Let me try this.
I try to close it. Here is in the side.
1 second. Let me try. And then this. All right, which one's yours?
It's behind you.
Right there. Is it loading? There we go.
Can you make it?
Yeah, that's from the beginning. Okay.
Can you go slide? Up.
From beginning. There you go.
Hey guys. Again, good evening, everybody. My name is Dr. Abed. I'm the director of innovative programming. I don't know what they title like that, but I deal with virtual as a coordinator, and also I deal with dual enrollment with Hamtramck High. So I know there is a lot of things about this program, but I would like to say I started August 4th last year, not this year, and this was there. It's not my choice, but I was only aware of this program as a buzz, as a grade book. But all of you knows what this Pearson is. It's one of the best of virtual platform. It's a platform. We use last year we used their teachers and their curriculum and everything because our teacher refused to do it, or there was a misunderstanding about this kind of who's teaching, who's not teaching. But this program, honestly, for so many types of kids we serve, like the one who need to be advanced. Kids can finish 8 courses in a year, so they graduate in 3 years. We didn't implement it for reason which I can talk about. Homeschooling base. I don't know about if you're aware what is the percentage of homeschooling mainly in Hamtramck? About 18%. We have a lot of competitors, we have a lot of charters, we have a lot of homeschooling program, and that's now even in Michigan in general, whether in Oakland or Wayne County. A lot of people need a flexible schedule. Some kids are working, some girls are working, some people are needed in the evening because their parents at home, and other things. Medically fragile. We have people who have surgeries, mom, dad, families, kids themselves. We have people who have asthmas. So we have those. People are safety. When shooting happen, a lot of people come to virtual. Oh, what do you mean virtual? There are people who are panic, and mainly with our situation here, there is girls only schools. A lot of girls would like to be in a separate, so they chose to be at home. A lot of kids maybe I know there is 3 or 4 kids there, they feel they are bullied in school and we are not acting it. we have a truancy issue. I have a lot of truancy kids in person, then when they vanish, move to Dr. Abed for virtual. I can tell you, those kids are the lowest 20% we have, and I would like to ask the board to see what's our truancy in Hamtramck. And if you ask about Detroit too, you'll be shocked with the number. So that's where this program came as an option. I know some people misuse it, but you need to understand there is 60% and above. This is from last year data, which I will share it with you now, because some people sometimes misread data. And basically, they are advanced kids, 60% above B and A. And when I say that, I have it by number, and I challenge all those people who speak, get how many A's and B's in your in-person schools. That's what you need. What Ms. Lokman talked about, the classroom data, get it. It's not fair to 1 year program to say it's working or it's not working. I did not bring it. There was a choice between Pearson or Oxford. The team chose this Pearson. This is, and I am transparent, and I will say what I know about this. So that's the model. And when you look about it, Pearson is well known nationwide with their curriculum. They have Michigan Merit. They have all these alignment are there, all their digital books or hard books are like that. So it's about the curriculum, it's about the student. And here I need to talk about the time report that we submitted. This is about engagement, cognitive engagement. If a kid's in front of the computer and he went to the bathroom, that's not counted. The system counts by the second, the minute the kids start reading, mark activity, start typing, answering a quiz, attend live session, attend the recording. So those are, by the way, these are median. There are kids finish a class in 3 weeks. There are kids take them hours. This program is a flexible, 24/7. I will tell you, the highest kids work at 27 days on this computer. So there are kids who work 30 days in a year or 40, but it's not, like as I said, it's not counted by our instructional calendar, 180 days on instruction. And that's what, there is a misunderstanding. But the system is really transparent by counting how many seconds is the kids typing or taking a quiz. Then the teachers. I can say to you, I wasn't happy about 20% of Pearson teachers, and I reported them. So all their teachers are certified. The one has their BIC number, you can verify that, and human resources. It also the caretakers, the parents need to be involved. Any parents request, there is an account called Observer, they can view everything their kids. There's a great book called Buzz, everything they do, day by day, activity by activity. But you know our parents, a lot of them even you create, last year we created around 80 accounts for parents. How many of them view it, how many check it? You know what kind of community we have. Some of them yes, some of them no. So that's where as you see this kind of thing. So that's basically the model. And why I say, you know, from your previous data, when you survey your parents about using Zoom or Google Meet, it's about safety. It's about self-harm. It's about inappropriate behavior. It's about people, they don't want to show their faces. In Pearson, when the kid's logged by his first name, last name, Adnan Abid, nobody knows this is Adnan. Nobody see the camera, they don't know each other. It's by user 1, user 2, user 3. That's the safety of it. We have cases where kids try to basically to cheat. They find automatically the teacher can't find it. You ask your teacher, this is the lovely one. Kids cannot copy paste from Google. This is what I would like to talk about, the safety. Our Zoom normally work normally, but that's another thing. Google Meet, I use Google Meet as a principal in my previous. A lot of behavioral issues. Every day we have a police. This is who logged to my account. Sending those inappropriate video. You have to have a system, whether Pearson or Moodle, or you have to be on Oxford. This is not about the program itself. It can be used better. So this is what we offer, easy online. Kids log for us, like the bookmark, they log in, no password, nothing, they go in their system. Individual attention, hundreds of courses. This is another, be no aware, we don't offer so many electives. We lose kids because they don't have maybe AB classes, maybe career job, those kind of like business, computer, they have nursing, they have like 90 elective, and we offer that to them. We use Pearson because we don't have those endorsements in our program. Languages, like 7, 8 languages. Safe, secure learning environment. And I say that, it's really meant it. We have 2 cases where kids try to self-harm, the system automatically send alert to the teacher and then to me when we reach the kid. Family 4116, I will make it short, but I would like to say these are the tools that student can do. But I would like to tell you one thing about it. This system rely on live face-to-face, but also rely on recording. And until now, unfortunately, our union refused to do the recording. They claim there is a board policy, which we could not find it. Here is Jawan, here is Nabil, and here is Mr. Nichai. They send us a policy, it's about i.e. individual plan 504, which related to record. And it says, the student and parents cannot record the IB meeting, 504 meeting. It's not about virtual. We read it until now. That's why you feel parents are not happy. If you are not having it recorded, because I'm a mom, I need to sit with my child in the evening. We have 2 teachers not recording, we have 3 teachers recording. Ask those 3 teachers about it. So I don't know, I cannot enforce that. And Nabil is aware of that, and I know he's working with Tony about it. But please, we need those recording. If that's not happening, we are going to lose the customer. We'll have to lose our kids. And that's why I'm giving you a head as a board, because you're a board, some of you are a 10. Have you heard about, there is a policy we cannot record instruction for 30 minutes.
I've heard of a policy where you cannot record in-class live student interactions. That's the policy that I'm aware of.
I think we need to address, and I asked about that more than 40 days. Until now, we are not reaching anything. Tool for parents. This is what parents also, as I said, they can see exactly what the kids see. So if they would like to communicate with teacher, they can. If they would like to communicate through what mails, message boarding, all these kind of things. This is a kind of what's normally this a rhetoric from a language, building critical thinking. We always say that, but I will tell you, Pearson one of the best in all these state about their curriculum, and we are behind us, teacher and principal, they're aware of that. They use SIAP also in their delivery of instruction, which is what we do here. They use a lot of social, emotional learning activity plan in their curriculum, but our teacher this year have the right to customize their lesson plan, and we train them 7 hours. I know we still have a little bit, we need more time, we're doing another training, because it's very hard to customize a grade book or to customize a curriculum based on, and you heard Mr. Luqman saying, we have different pacing, we have different scopes. At least we have a guideline. You take the class and you can modify or you do the changes. And again, this is about also kind of what support. They have a very, when the kids start, they have student orientation. We put a student orientation for a day or 2 where the kids are trained by videos, how to send emails, how to message their teacher, how to go to their resource room, how to go to their backpack where there is a digital books. And tech support, they are very good with that. We also bought for them what we call live tutor from 9 to 6 every day until Friday, until 5, what we call homework tutor. So if the kids need help in Unit 2, Math, Lesson 13, Page 3, they just need to type it in a box, they're a tutor. Sometimes they respond fast, like below 5 minutes, sometimes at 10. We complain about that this year. Hopefully they will fix it, but I can tell you, at-risk kids can benefit a lot from this service because automatically take them to where they are in the lesson and they go and reteach them. They don't do the exams and things with them, but they help them to answer that. And that's what, so basically this is a summary, what's the program. This is what I found in general. A lot of electives in it, advanced placement, other classes, dual enrollment. We have 2 kids are doing dual enrollment. That would be basically with Wayne County Community College, but they are very advanced kids. Very nice 2 ways communication with the teacher and all these kind of live tutor. I'm talking to you about that. So this is the enrollment last year, and I don't get me when I say 273 that first semester last year. But by the end of the year, they became 226 exactly, because we found out 41 kids. That's why the data here is squeezed. I think Tony didn't pay attention to the top of it. The system tally, as Nate told me, tally, even if you have 1 kid log 1 time, it counts that in the data. That's why you see these data are, like sometimes they are not significantly right. Because we have kids signed today, then we find them in another school. or they went in person. We moved them in person because they are not performing. So those are, even if they log a day or two, they are counted in 275. But by the end of semester 1, we were having 226. Then, when we start semester 2, we start 227, but we ended with 2010. And I will share with the board, this is the data, and this is, I don't make it a surprise, but I will share with you the data from one data, which is basically what we call the iReady. It is a copy for you. Our virtual school, this is our virtual school basically, please can you invest this please? And only in 6th grade and 7th grade, in-person kids in the iReady read and math are higher than our virtual. So we have to be right. There are great kids in this program, and I think we need to really, and also look for also their even SAT score, what is their mean score. And I would like to request if we can get our mini scores for our 11th grade and 10th grade and 9th grade and 8th grade. You have great kids in person. And that will take me to the dual enrollment. Very briefly, by last year, we have 164 kids eligible for dual enrollment. The last year dual enrollment, we have only 52. This year, we have 75 courses offered as dual enrollment in partnership with Wayne County Community College. And Nabil, thank you for your support for that. This is what we need, like Brother Hibisi was talking about. We have great kids with potential, and we need to focus on and put time on that, because otherwise we are losing. People losing. Sorry, if you don't know the number, look for our dollar, for our enrollment. So we are in a very competitive environment. And if you, like the other guys who presented, if we start not acting and working together as a team, and honestly I will say it in French, we are not so far, then we are going to keep losing. And that's me as a Dr. Abid. I am in this community since 2006. And I know how is it. And I don't want to talk about this kind of private and this is misinformation. If you need the answer, Nabil has the answer for those two things. And because I cannot speak about it, because I don't like to speak about it, honestly. So I will say, this is our enrollment this year. Start from September 8th, because Tony requested that. We started 230 virtual, we dropped 227, we dropped 182, 172, 160. I will tell you why, basically. And honestly, we would like a lot of kids to be in person. Especially our special ed need, we struggled with them a lot last year. And it's a public meeting, I will not say why. We have 17, this year we push all our work, maybe we have 11 or 12. But they have a reason why they are not coming. Most of it is the transportation and medical situation. And we cannot say to the parents, don't do that. And then we find it, here is the thing, if you decided to switch in person, you have to fill a form from the secretary or the main office to go in person. That was the policy or what we talk about. We found that 22 kids, thank Mr. Kainer is here, in Hamtramck they are in person and nobody told us. So that's why you see this. But again, with count day we have 165. But again, I don't need to drop this an option. It can be better. I know what's and I hear it. If you look here, I survey parents. This was in last December, and even I will be happy in one time I can email you what's the parents say and what's those 98 say. The great things, but there are things can be better. And one of them, they felt that they are tired with this program. It's a drilling program. The kids need to work hard, but it can be better. That's why I was so happy, and Nabil knows, I would like my teacher in Hamtramck to teach. But you don't tell me, it's a learning curve. I know it's new for them, and we put so far 7 hours of BDN training, and still we have people who are really went very well. We still people need more. So, but we are together in this. If you find, and for me, honestly, I would like this program to be for advanced kids, but I cannot tell a kid who has no transportation and mom lost a job or she shifted a job, hey, don't take this kid because he is. Why we don't support that kid? I started this program until October 15, only myself. No support. And then we have another person, and now we have 7. plus our teacher 5. So that's why we feel this program can be better. This is me. And I'm looking for any support. I came to you, Tony, I told you I need your support with that. So that's why, and since that time, we have no communication. I came to you when you told me they are a union against recording. I don't know. I am open, if you feel to help me to do that, will be. So I am done, but I just would like to say to you, look for these data, and I would appreciate to discuss the other school, kids in person. For me, it's not significant data-wise to judge a program for one school year. Thank you so much. If you have any question, I will be happy to answer.
I just have a question. If there is a way that we can find if there is a policy that states
For the recording?
for the recording, yeah, because,
Joanne is here, she said, Mr. Minchai himself told me, no, there is no.
so then why aren't we allowing it?
We need to talk.
We have meetings set up. There's a lot of other elements and things involved. It's not cut and dry. That, we need to discuss, and it's ongoing discussion. So it's not as cut as dry as presented. But continue conversations. We'll stop it
You are
there.
the leader, give me an answer.
It's not the
So
budget.
No, I mean, I trust you, but you're aware of that since
You're
exactly
passionate
September
about it.
6th.
I understand.
Yeah,
But
we need
what-
an answer.
We need an answer of why aren't they allowed to do this? Because it's affecting the students' performance, it's affecting the students.
There's many things that are affecting
What are
performances.
the, can
Well, we
you
could be-
elaborate?
We could be
But that
provided
needs to-
this in a update.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not just cut and dry and black and white, like it's literally, there's other elements. And there's internal things that, to your understanding, that I've shared with the board as well, that I cannot discuss in an open session.
Okay, so we'd like the update as soon as you can, please.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Is this like, cause I was looking at the stuff and it said like you have teachers on standby, so are they not teaching a lesson? Or are these kids just sitting in front of the computer all day working on whatever this electronic person or thing is?
I will tell you how is it. In Pearson last year, that's their model, K2, they have everyday literacy like around 45 minutes or 50 minutes. It's alive, kids have to come. But at the same time, they record. If the kids fail to come, they record it and they post it in a folder called course resources. So you as a parent, let's say you came back and you log and you see that. And most of the time, that in math and social studies and science, they meet with them once a week. That's Pearson. The same thing with, until only elective, they meet live face-to-face like every other week, like art, gym, but the content area, they meet with them up to 1 hour. Still, the student and the parents can request 2 half-an hours a week, one-to-one, if the kids still need help. You know what I'm saying? That's Pearson model. Then when I met with my teacher in the beginning, I told him it was too much 1 hour instruction like face-to-face. Normally kids because the kids in the survey say it's too long live lesson 1 hour. Can we have it like shorter? So I proposed to the teacher to make it, if I am an algebra teacher, make it twice a week. So they have to have a schedule, Monday at 10, 11, for example, Thursday. So they post that in a schedule and the kids just click on the link and they go to that room, where is it? If the kids miss that, teacher has the recording. Within less than 24 hours, they have to upload that. They call it previous recording with a date, like a date and the topic title and the link, so they click and they see it. Some of the kids, like the advanced, some of them, they don't go for the live session, they go for the recording, because if they are working, that's how the system built it. Other system like Ingenuity, there is no face-to-face. It's just recording videos, like Khan Academy. That's why Pearson is a little bit unique, because they have this kind of face-to-face. But the session, we are not expecting more than twice for math, half an hour each, with a schedule, Monday, Wednesday, for example. We prefer not to do it at 9 and 10, and that's another dilemma. With young kids, when you put it at 9, they are still asleep.
I'm just a little confused because I thought this was virtual learning, and I don't know if it's because I'm going back on when we started virtual learning back in the day, but it seemed like this like some college stuff where the kids just go on and do what they want whenever they want. I don't understand, like, why are the kids not in front of the teacher having that, okay, we got a breakout section, you go do this. Okay, here's a lesson for social studies. We got a breakout section, you go do this, like, it's just.
And that's part of the problem, Ms. Hall. Please let me share something. We're focused, the board, audience, teachers, community, on the quality of the program, not the quantity or the amount of students.
Okay.
We want quality programming, and that includes the scheduling, the timing of the students, of which we're working with the different organizations. So the quality of the kids doing well in the program, not just them, you know, just typical. And our teachers that we currently have doing the program, they take a lot of pride, and they want the kids to perform well and do well. So there's a lot, like I said before, there's a lot of elements. It's not just black and white. We can share more information with the board regarding the BLI program.
What I hear you saying, Ms. Hall, is that what I think makes sense to me and like speaks to something that was raised in the presentation also is that, you know, the ideal student for this structure of program, as Dr. Abed said, is a very self-motivated, very self-driven, very advanced student, right? And that's not necessarily what it sounds like we are matching up with this, partly because parents have the option to opt into it over our recommendations.
And some families have circumstances that.
But I would certainly be curious to know, you know, how much of our program vision, you know, is encouraging, you know, one of those versus the other, because I can definitely see how it is not the ideal structure for a lot of, you know, young people to learn,
My
particularly
concern-
younger kids.
When you're done. My concern is if he's saying that he's been trying to get help and an answer for this for over 40 days, that's a problem.
Okay, please, Mr. Hardwan, this is not, I'm tired, please, do
For
not
what?
ambush me.
For
I
what?
need to answer this.
I'm not, nobody's
No,
ambushing me.
Because, no, you do not understand what's the day-to-day things that have been going on. So please, do not, just because somebody said something and made an announcement, there's been continual communication. Been asking Dr. Abed to communicate with different staff across the district and failing to do so. So
No,
he
no,
cannot,
no, no.
Dr. Abed, please.
With honest, I'm not good.
We'll have a conversation,
I
we'll
have my
continue.
documentation, you have your documentation. Let's bring it to the board.
Can you
Okay,
guys, can you guys both take a pause on this?
Yes.
I will.
He just asked a simple question, and it'd be in everyone's best interest to not take things personally.
Yes.
So, what was the specific,
My specific question?
was the reference to 40 days?
So if he's been asking for 40 days
how do
about
you
the
get-
policy,
Yeah,
so they can start,
right,
the
but we already
recording?
talked about that.
I know, but I'm saying, that's just my concern, is I would like that addressed sooner rather than later,
Right.
so.
Yeah, I think we all agreed. And is, what's the current enrollment?
One, with this one?
161. 161.
And we are adding couple because couple of kids, they're through one and big.
And how many of the what percentage of the 160, or how many of those students approximately are affiliated with a specific organization or a group?
I would like to talk about those things because I don't know if you know in Hamtramck, though, these are not full-time organizations. They are not affiliated as 6-hour or instruction. And by the way, and I would like to tell you, they are in this business more than 7 years, the other program. I can't tell you who are doing these things, but they are basically in Hamtramck, similar to this, I found that there are 5, those kind of partial Islamic Quranic classes. And everybody has the different schedule. So the confusion is about we are dipping them, they are in something called Ikhlas Academy. The only full-time Islamic school is here, we call the Ikhlas, everybody knows. Those are partial classes, but they have flexibility in their schedule. And sometimes they do morning, somebody do it in afternoon, somebody do it in 11, somebody, see, that's what is the market. So those were with other charter, and they were also with K-12 school, been pastor named them like 7 or 8. So I think around exactly, because again, around 17 of them came back in person. They don't like this kind of 2 programs. So we have so far around 80. 80. Yep.
80?
And-
Yeah, 88, yes.
And you're
We
saying,
dropped from around 100 to 80.
and of those approximately 80, you're saying they all have, they do not have standard schedules.
No, that's what they told us. And when I went after Nabil, basically I can say, one of their board was a board here, he approached Nabil and me, and we went to present to them. I don't know the other, we deal with only two entities.
We want to present to them, please have that correct. Do not, if you want to meet, but the,
All right.
for the,
I mean, keep it professional. So, they do or do not have standard schedules?
Honestly, they do told us, or they telling us from 9 to 11, then lunch, then after that they do a prayer, then they go for the other curriculum, our curriculum basically.
Okay.
So basically, they don't go more than 3 hours. If they are, I am not involved basically, but they are willing to change their schedule, honestly. Some of them, like I am aware, they are willing, because of the teacher basically, but the lifetime from 9 and 10. They are willing, and by the way, I will tell you, these are 75% of those 80 are Hamtramck residents.
So, but because based on our current model, without recordings, it requires face-to-face sessions
Yes,
during
yes,
school hours.
Yes,
Right?
yeah, I agree.
And they're attending at least half-time in another school program during school
It's not a
hours.
school, it's called center.
Whatever
They call
it's
it center.
called.
Yeah, yeah,
They're doing something else.
yes.
And that's a structural, engagement that they have, that has existed since they were enrolled or recruited to be enrolled. So I guess if they're willing to change their schedule, I mean, the things we knew going into the year were we have teachers during a set amount of hours to teach live sessions in those hours. Why would a participant or a group of participants be enrolled or recruited, knowing that they are already engaged otherwise, without having them adjusted that schedule or whatever they're willing to do before being a part of our program?
They were with other schools virtual. They were affiliated with other schools. I can tell you, there are like 14. And those
wasn't my
14 where I
question.
can, they don't have teacher like we have. They have.
That wasn't my question.
Yeah,
I understand
see,
that.
and
But
I'm telling you-
given what our structure was, given what the program design was, given what we know our capacities are and were, why was it attempted to fit a round peg into a square hole?
And I told you, they came when
The
we
question is as
told.
much for you as.
I don't, I'm not clear on it. Can you
What I'm
elaborate?
saying.
I'm not understanding the question myself.
So we knew going into the school year, I'm gathering that we knew going into the school year that we have, we transitioned from the Pearson teachers to like Hamtramck teachers and the staff in the program. And our contract, states that, teachers work certain times of the day. And therefore, that's when live instruction on the virtual program would be happening. However, that is exactly structured. I'm not certain how classes and breakout groups and whatever are set up, but it's with teachers, face to face on the computer. If that's our that's the program design we have, but we recruited or accepted or understood going in that there are approximately 80 students who have at least a half a day or more commitment in another learning program.
In the Islamic schools.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, whatever that program is, because I think it's multiple. That seems like an error in some way, shape, or form to try and make those work together. I haven't seen anything in writing, any MOUs from other organizations about adapting to the structure that we are offering. I haven't seen anything in writing from an attorney about the legality I haven't seen, any, thing that convinces me that there was the adequate amount of thought or process on the front end to make sure that those kids could be successful in that kind of a model. Does that make sense?
It does,
Okay.
but, so Dr. Abed,
I would say, we have, from last year, we have a lot of kids that don't attend the face-to-face, like I thought, they rely on the recording. When we presented or we talk about our flyers, we say recording, so a lot of those people rely on, there is a recording, so they can see it. I agree with what you, 100%, but again, they were relying on some of that recording, and their previous experience with the other vendor, I can tell you it's terrible. That's why they, when they heard about this program, they started applying.
But we don't have the recordings.
that's what the problem.
That's
I know,
our teacher who
But we,
records.
why do we,
I was,
why was that offered
I was
in that
shocked when
manner?
but I tell you, I was shocked when Tony emailed me back and Nabil saying we are not allowed to record. I wasn't.
I understand that, you're shocked, but.
Evan, he's saying last year they were recording the
All the
sessions.
No, they
all the
weren't.
flyers said.
They're from Pearson.
I understand that they're from Pearson. Are we still using the Pearson model?
Is it, no, we're using the Pearson
I think
program
we're
with our
still using
teachers.
Pearson
That's
model.
what Ms. Pearson.
Right, so what has changed other than we asked for our in-house teachers to teach? So why can't they follow the Pearson model and record the lectures? That's what my problem is.
I know, and we're not gonna get that answer right now.
But that's what your question is.
No, it's not. You're missing.
I am your customer, I rely, and I'll tell you, we have our good kids, they don't attend live session from last year, even now, but they are A, because they rely on the other 3 teachers who are recording, and they are, like you said,
I
they
get
are,
it.
they are independent.
So that was
Get
the,
out,
that was
supposed to work.
that was what we had in place last year, we were using Pearson's supplied educators. We've shifted to using our teachers, like,
With the same model.
that recording that happened last year apparently was part of the Pearson offering. That's not available anymore.
No,
No, but we decided not
It
to
is
have
available.
it is available, but
Do we pay more money?
Do we have a
not
policy
have
that
a
says it's not?
contract? Well,
Yeah,
did we
No,
have a
no.
contract with Pearson
No,
that
they-
paid for
Hold on, one
that?
person at a time.
go ahead, Ms. Watson.
So did we, with the program as it stood last year, we had a contract with Pearson? Was there something in there that went through, and was there a cost associated with that? Because like, this is not the same, so I understand that we're still using the same platform, but obviously there's been differences in how the program's been rolled out. And so compare apples to apples, right? Like,
Right.
don't, things happened last year, and so, this year we opted to go in a different direction, and so maybe that's part of
Dr.
that
Abed,
piece.
when you started and chose to do it in-house teachers, right? Did you notify them about the recordings prior to this?
Because when, we have 3 teachers from the union join, they have what we call the interest letter or the email. And when I met them, all of them, I told them the program and the expectation. All of them knows that. And even when we hired the other 2, we said that, it's required, with our flyers everywhere in that social, it says recording. This is, all our flyers here in the back, you can see it. So I was shocked when Tony emailed me and Nabil saying, you emailed the teacher about the recording, we are against this, there is a board policy against that. Nabil has the email and me from September 6th. Since we asked, I came to Jawan and everybody, Nabil also asked Jawan, and nobody. But the problem, there is no policy, and it's still staying, and that's what I'm telling you.
Dr. Abed, I just have one to follow up on Ms. Watson. Is there a cost difference in using our teachers versus Pearson's teachers? Is it more cost effective to use our teachers?
It's, yes,
Okay.
yes,
And
it's better, I know.
so
but
their
this is-
sole job is to do the online virtual classes, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so they're not teaching other classes, is it, just
They-
clarify?
Here, what we use we use our teacher K through 6 and then 7 through middle school, we have also the only teacher we use from Pearson now, gym and art as
For
elective.
extra, yeah.
And what we call math, 7 through 12, because none of our teachers signed for it. You cannot find a math teacher. As a high school 7, that's the only thing, and in addition to AP classes, or if there is any other elective, we have around elective classes for also high school. So basically our core subject, except math, are our teachers. The only thing we use from the gym and art, K-8, elective high school. That's it. Yeah.
So, I mean, it sounds like, I mean, there's probably a number of other things to dig into, and it's obviously getting late in the night, but the crux of, one of the crux issues is this issue of the recordings, and how the program is advertised and how it's being used and whether or not that's, you know, effective and why. So, I think we need to do a little homework here and, get more answers.
I understand, but we don't run the day-to-day operations, I agree. We have them present to us, correct? They present what they need us to know. He's telling us that for 40 days, it's been over 40 days or whatever, he's been asking for an answer for a question. I understand there might be other things going on. All he wants to know is why can't we record the sessions for the students? This is affecting the students at the end of the day, nobody else.
We heard you, you don't need to keep repeating it.
I do need to keep repeating it because
is,
apparently it's not getting through that, he's just asking for a question. What's the answer?
what would be a responsible action by a board would be to determine how we are going to get that answer. And so what is the next steps here?
I understand it.
So what is
so
that?
why has it
That is
been
what
so
I'm
long?
trying to discuss.
Fine, that's fine.
So-
Can we all agree to get some answers, you know, as soon as possible? Is that?
So, when it needs to be a little more concrete than that, so, you know, can we direct our superintendent to please provide us in our next board, report, which would be Monday, the all available details on, if there is any kind of policy to reference. If not, what is the current state of discussions around this issue and why, you know, it is in the status it's in? Is there any other piece of that that needs to be answered to you?
You know what, no.
Are the kids be allowed?
Just, I don't want the kids to suffer because of politics, that's all.
So
I'll
what's-
make that clear.
So what information do you need?
The information that I need is, I wanna know before our next board
We're saying in the Monday report.
I understand, but I would like an answer about a policy. If he's been asking for 40 days, then they should already have that answer. I would like that answer within the next couple of days. I don't
Yes.
wanna wait,
So-
if that's okay.
You said by the Monday report, that's in the next couple of days. So, okay,
Okay.
we're on the same page.
Yeah, and just to
Alright.
make it clear, we're having meetings and discussions, and including individuals from the district that I shall not name, that have background in VLI, vast background, and supporting in that capacity and creating meetings. So,
Great. Please
well,
include their.
yeah, definitely.
Okay.
You got any questions, any other questions? Thank you, Dr. Abu.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we have buildings and grounds.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. Okay, I had hoped to come here tonight and discuss my bid responses for ECE Phase 2 for both Windows and DHVAC. Well, they came in, and there's so many different facets to them, it's complicated. So I spoke with Partners in Architecture, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna present, they're gonna come down, make a presentation, and then we're gonna have it on the board agenda next time for approval, recommendations for both jobs. And at the same time, I think having Partners in Architecture here with us that day, we'll be able to answer any questions and put everything to rest in one swoop. Okay, that's my main concern for tonight.
Thank you, Rich.
Any questions?
Any questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Are we still gonna do the 3D crosswalk? Like,
So that was, I can answer that. That was, that ended up ultimately being canceled. From my understanding, they chose to do the speed bumps, correct? So I did go to the city yesterday and I asked about that.
the beat up speed bumps?
I did go to the city yesterday and I spoke as a parent and said, Those are ridiculous. Those are not what we agreed to. Like, we want the quality, you know, why do we have to always get the low end of things? Do you see how Detroit speed bumps are? Those are what we need.
Right.
You know, if the board and the district is paying for half of it,
Right.
then, you know, sometimes you don't have to go with the lowest bidder because this is the result that we have. People fly over these things on a daily basis.
I mean, I see.
I literally drop off my kid at ACE and they fly over it with the bus there.
Cause it's not a real speed bump.
Did they melt?
Yours,
Like the
by
ones
your
by my
house?
house?
Yes, they melted.
They're like, you can put your tires through, like, yeah, it makes
So I
sense.
went and I made my comments to the city and
How do final payments get made on projects like this when that is the quality
Without-
that's delivered?
I asked, you know, if they can revisit and maybe we can all meet again.
Yeah, I'd love to know if we have any financial, mechanisms that we could look into, because we paid money for a
Like
product that was
partitions
not
or-
delivered.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'd love to be more cooperative about it with the city as possible. They're obviously our partners on so many things, but,
That's
you know,
for
like-
Mr. Najee to.
Yeah, I'll make a
Yeah,
communication
follow
with the city
but
manager.
obviously,
tomorrow,
no one's happy about that.
I'm not,
They're terrible.
they are.
Even the one by
Might as well
Talbeda.
not put them there. Like, they look horrible.
The old one by Talbeda is just
And
like.
even the ones by
falling apart.
Hamtramck High School, to be honest, those are small. They do look like the Detroit version, but
You can go through
you
it.
can go flying through those ones too. If you're gonna do the job right, we need to do it right. Any other questions for Rich? Thank you very much.
Oh, no, it's me.
No, oh yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'll just
Yeah.
do the
All right,
comment.
reports
That's
by
all
the
right.
superintendent.
I'll try to make it quick. 8:55. First of all, thank you to the team for beginning the presentation. I might speed through this. I'm gonna go over there, make it easier. So, all in my notes. First, I'd like to say that it was a phenomenal PD, and we hope more of our team members can join us next year and recruit for more. Is this on? I gotta get it first try. First of all, this was one of a conference or PD that I've been to that I didn't regret. And I think the rest of the team members that joined can attest to not regretting going to any session. I would be, the sessions went to like 5, 6 o'clock at times, and it was like, oh, I'm too exhausted, but I'm gonna go, and I'm so glad, they're glad we didn't miss any, like, they were all informative, all just inspiring. They all brought back stuff to the team, like literally, after every session, we're just all excited to come back and share information, and how we're gonna share back with the district, and move our district forward. It was very powerful and practical, so I'll bring in here. These are obviously the team members that joined from different backgrounds and positions. As you can see from the map, we had folks from all over and different levels of the portrait of a graduate. The key components: critical thinking, communication, the 4 C's: critical thinking, communication, collaboration, and creativity. Also, being champions for the district or school, transformation, courageous and innovative. Focused on making every student college, career, and life ready, not just, college and career. Response to learning loss, obviously through COVID and whatnot. There's 4 essential recovery steps and leadership. Establishing a new vision, align our systems, assess and respond to student needs, whether it be physical, academic, behavioral, social, emotional, mental, health, etc. Hence, like having our trauma center, social workers, all those key pieces and positions are critical, and every position matters for the holistic child and growth. To rethink assessment of learning. This was shared as well before, as it illustrates everyone's contribution is necessary, from community members to board members. And I'll show later how one district, they were successful because their board was very supportive and included in the process. So it made things very smooth, and they transformed their high school within 1 year. It was really cool because it was a module or different types of modes of learning. Whether they pick their own pacing, learning, they can do the traditional path, and so on and so forth. And even the way they transform the classrooms, you don't need much money either. It's not a financial thing, it's more of a planning thing. So key focuses, the team went over this as well. Developing the portrait, of course. I'll go skip through this one. Also, the feedback is critical, and authentic stakeholder engagement. This is very important. The areas of strategic focus, so pedagogy and instruction, the learning space, which I touched on. As you can see, like 21st century, not desks lined up in a row and whatnot, so on and so forth. Technology integration, we have one-to-one at this point, but we need to get even surpass that, and take our digital learning to the next level, and community partnerships. Long-term goals, consistent global engagement and professional development, not spotty, not once every frequently. Build district-wide leadership capacity, school and district level. Create a competitive and leading 21st century educational ecosystem, hence everything matters within the educational structure, and ultimately growing HPS. HR and staffing updates, I know the board has some questions about that. So we're developing and hiring for the moment and culture, developing the hiring and culture and climate committees. So we received the nominations from the HA, HFD, and AFSCME to select 3 individuals. And now the next step is to create the committees and set meeting dates immediately. And that's happening in real time. Create the spreadsheet with school leaders and department directors for all vacant positions. So every building leader department, whichever vacant positions they had, input that, so we knew exactly which positions were needed, because sometimes some positions were no longer needed, but we either posted or thought were needed, so it just helped us streamline a little faster there. Staffing updates, Ms. Arwad shared already, but we have offers sent to 2 social workers and 3 special education paraprofessionals. Also, schools are conducting interviews as we speak, looking to fill positions in their future, and much appreciation and support from several individuals in central office, such as Joanne, Debbie, Crystal, who am I missing? How about I know I missed someone, I'm gonna regret it later. If I remember, I'll come back to it. Achievements, so this one was a huge one, before the soccer's huge too, but when I was in the superintendent's meeting, the monthly meeting, they were we're going through the data, and the teachers are gonna wanna hear this, everyone watching, listening. I wanted to wait till the board meeting, could've shared it with all. I even literally took the picture in the front row, while they're doing the PowerPoint. I was getting teased for it, but hey, I didn't care. This is a prideful moment. Top 5 districts with the greatest, this is in Wayne County, all of Wayne County. Top 5 districts with greatest improvement, ELA proficiency, grades 3 through 8, MSTEP and PSAT, 8, from 21 to 22, we were number 1. For grades 3 through 8, same thing, but for math, PSAT 21, 22, greatest improvement math proficiency, Hamtramck. So this is all the hard work of the teachers, paras, all the staff. Post-COVID, so bravo, all that hard work, long evenings, we appreciate you. And it truly takes everyone. The other highlight was the evaluation handbook is being finalized thanks to the collaboration of the admin team. But our HHS soccer team won regionals. If you haven't watched the video online or on Facebook, and visit our page, like the page, okay, we want to increase that traffic. But this game, they have also a fan bus. So I don't know if it's tomorrow?
Yeah,
Thank you, Dr. Abbott.
Yeah.
So If you can, please attend. If you drive there, drive there. Let's show our support. Let's wear the, what's our color? Yeah, red. Waterford. In Waterford. So, 5:30, you heard that. Or
Camp starts 5:30.
5:30. Thank you. So, we look forward to seeing everyone there. And have a great time, and hopefully a win. That will take us to the state championship, is that correct? All right. Wait, so, okay, Final Four. See, I'm learning these things, so, that's why I'm not the sports guy. But I just wanna end with this, I believe this is the last slide. Hamtramck strong, great things are happening. You know, it's been a challenge, but we're gonna get there together, shifting our mindset and our practices, building system and process, support the entire educational community, and focus on being student-driven, data-informed, and future-focused, and not just saying it, but using it. So, we will do great things. Thank you, and a special thank you to the fire department, donated $3,000 worth of brand-new jackets for our students. They always step up. Please give them a round of applause, because they're probably watching. Thank you so much. And to Liz and Amra for working with them to get those jackets. And that's about it.
All right, any questions from anyone? Any questions?
Look forward to seeing the committee work really develop.
So, yes.
I know I have some stuff for board discussion, but that's.
I mean, I thought we wanted to know who's running the HR department now, since right now there is not one.
I just shared that.
Yeah, I heard that the responsibilities have been redistributed and.
To multiple people?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I heard. And then, it sounds like hiring and recruiting is moving along.
Correct, yeah.
I'd like to see more details on, I mean, I know we get it in our, weekly reports.
I can add that
There's
to
just
them.
a status update on, you know, if more, how we're doing in terms of interviews, offers, acceptances relative to our open
So basically, it's a
positions.
full process.
Yeah.
Any other questions? All right, moving on, resolution number 2, approval of update to student code of conduct. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Obey, seconded by Ms. Hall. Did you guys all review it? It was basically,
What's the difference?
the difference is there was
Tardies.
the
I mean,
tardy,
what's
so
that
there's a
mean? What's
late
a
tardy,
tardy?
is, you wanna explain this kind of?
Please, yeah, if you don't mind. Either or, either or.
So, the difference of the excluding the late out of there, you're actually giving kids the opportunity to actually come in 5 minutes late and still be on time. So like when you're actually coming in, like we have a tardy bell, like it goes off, right, you're supposed to be in class. But the way the code of conduct reads, it says tardy after 5 minutes. So technically, you're gonna actually go 5 minutes over, so not only a 5 minute passing time. I know, actually, there's a lot of students that watch this, so they're gonna be like, oh man, they got us. But, so there was actually a time of 5, and then they had a 5 minute bell, and that's when teachers would actually mark tardies. So it was supposed to be late tardy, because there's a difference of that. And then the late tardy to like a 3 to 1 absence. So we mark late tardies at the high school because if you could imagine, if you miss, really, it's not the number, get there 6 minutes, it's more like 10, 15 minutes. So if you miss 3 classes at 15 minutes, you really miss 45 of a class. So that becomes an absence. And that's why that 3 late tardies become an absence. And that's what the whole late and non-late. So it helps us out at the high school.
Got it.
All right, any questions?
No.
Thank you.
All right, resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education does hereby approve the edits to the student code of conduct regarding the students' tardy policy as submitted. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. All right, resolution number 3, resolution regarding YouTube videos. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Major. I'll second. Resolved that the Board of Education does hereby mandate that all recorded board meetings, past and future, that are posted on YouTube, stay on YouTube indefinitely and are not to be deleted. Also, any past videos that have been set to private are to be made public.
So are we not gonna talk about this?
No, this is the time for it.
Okay, so I'm just saying, I don't know, Obey, he said that to let, you know, her come talk about the situation, but I'm pretty sure she told us when it first happened. What, you know, I remember, I don't know if you guys were listening, but I feel like we weren't in her shoes. We don't know how it felt to not be able to go outside because you got people out there stalking your house, etc. But I mean, I'm just trying to figure out, why can't we just be good people and rewrite the whole thing and just say future? I don't understand why we can't get rid of the past. That's all I'm just trying to figure out.
That proposal was made for tonight, and then if you guys are amenable, that we could make that policy tonight, moving forward, and ask for our colleagues' presence to help workshop the other component of this, so that it works for our community. Our obligation is to the public.
Right.
And by the next COW meeting, I think we should be a reasonable timeline. And if it can't happen by then we'll have to act on, that information as we see fit. But I think for tonight, it doesn't sound like anybody has any objections to codifying from now moving forward, correct?
I do, but that's just me because I told you, like in the beginning, I said everything should be public records. We don't have anything that we should hide or conceal. We are elected officials. We do get threats.
But that's not the case.
That is the case.
The case
I
is
got threats
somebody
myself this past month.
But you're a man.
So was
It's
that?
different.
I'm just gonna avoid that comment
I'm just
anyway.
saying.
Regardless, it's all public information. It's
Okay.
supposed to be public to the record. Videos are all public to the records, and if you don't feel safe or any of that, you have options, okay?
Okay.
But we can't hide, we have to be transparent, and that's been the problem with the district for many years, is everybody not being transparent. It's time to be transparent, and that's the whole thing behind this resolution. So
Okay.
if you guys want to amend it, go ahead.
I'm not clear what you want to do. I mean, I'm happy to vote on it as is. I agree with you. But
As I said,
Does anybody else have to say anything?
as I said, I respect every one of you guys, so I would love to hear from her before I vote on this.
Ray?
Okay, we'll do a roll call if you guys
There's
want.
there's a lot of words in this, right? And so like I'd like to know like what the specific objections are, because I too think that we are a public body and that, the public has right to, view these, if recordings are made,
They
they
should
be
have
in
the right to
public.
go back and look at videos. It's that simple. So what this is all stating is that, exactly what you just said. So we can do a roll call if you guys would like. Mr. Major.
well, I'm not sure, do we want to vote
I thought we were
on
gonna
the
table it.
resolution as is,
Or can we table it for, because there has been.
amend it, or table it?
How would you like to amend it?
I think I think we could say, that the board does hereby mandate that all recorded board meetings are posted on YouTube, stay on YouTube indefinitely or not to be deleted, period.
Do we have recorded meetings that are not on
Yes.
YouTube?
They are private right now.
We
And I'm
have
saying
some
they
from
need to go-
2020,
but there's-
21,
There's,
2020, I think.
Well, but
as
they're
I
still
read,
posted on YouTube,
They're
even
no-
if they're set to be private.
They're still on
posted
YouTube, right? They just need to go public.
Okay.
so as I read, would not be retroactive, so that could be addressed in the future.
I agree with you on the amendment.
Is there support or not? I mean, we don't have to do it. It's
No,
a
I
suggestion.
mean, I'm saying, so with that, and you said you wanna have her come speak.
Yeah, I mean, that's not as part of the resolution, but yeah,
No.
I think that should happen, absolutely, obviously. So,
Can you
So
read it
who has
again?
the ability to set something as private? Cause like, the
So last year, it
meeting-
was done by the board president and the previous superintendent, without anybody's acknowledgement.
I mean, I do.
I did the credit, she didn't
I'm
on
pretty
a-
sure she came here and told
She-
everybody what was going on. If you weren't listening, then that's on you.
Well,
But
then
she
how can I go
definitely
back and
told
see
us.
if I was listening?
She definitely told us.
Anyway,
But I'm not
like
gonna go
I
back
said,
and
long
forth.
story short, my opinion is,
It's been a long
it's
night.
public records and it needs to stay public records. Everybody has the right to
Right,
review
so-
any video previous.
Right, so are we okay with resolved that the Board of Education does hereby mandate that all recorded board meetings are posted on YouTube, stay on YouTube indefinitely, or not to be deleted?
Including the ones that's already on there.
No, that's not what I'm
He's
proposing.
trying to take it away for now, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, we can vote on that, but I'll bring up an.
Is there support?
So am I
I
gonna
support.
have to, am I gonna have to FOIA stuff? Oh, man.
Yeah,
Is
you're
there
gonna have
support
to.
for,
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing.
that's fine. Is there support for amending the resolution?
I do not support amending it.
I support.
Thanks for being a good person over
Yes?
there. I support.
It's not to put to bed after this. This is step one.
Yeah.
Yes or no? You can vote on the whole thing, vote on the partial thing.
Right, if we vote on the whole thing and we, like, I agree, she can come and speak for herself,
I know.
but if we vote on the whole thing, that just means that we are being transparent.
I understand.
That's all I'm saying.
We can't pick and choose
We know
on
everybody's
transparent.
positions right now.
We're
just-
not, but we didn't know that they're set to private until recently, when I tried to go back to
Yes.
review some videos.
Right, we understand everybody's positions, I
I'll make
think.
it.
We're just waiting. Support or not?
Can I comment on that?
Well, is it gonna help move forward?
Yeah. What I'm saying, anybody wanted to see these videos, they can do a FOIA and get it.
But you shouldn't
Well,
have to.
That's not happening right now. I mean, yeah, you shouldn't have to, I agree, but, so,
And so how
support,
do
support or
how
not?
do we rectify that?
Okay, that's not what the question is right now. Do you support or not amending the resolution or not?
I do not,
I know you don't.
just to be clear.
I understand what you're asking, but I think that the resolution as written would be closer to rectifying what we're trying to, provide transparency.
Okay, so you do not support amending the resolution?
Like I said, there's
We
a
can
lot of
take
words- there's a lot of
also
words
in-
in here.
We can take also any past videos that have been set to private are to be made public, but that means that meetings past and future that are posted on YouTube, which those are, need to go back to public. So we had that worded that way, just so it's clear.
I understand, but that's not, so what was proposed is that the board does hereby mandate all recorded board meetings are posted on YouTube, stay on YouTube indefinitely, or not to be deleted. So it's not retroactive. It's a proposal. Is there support by the majority to amend the resolution? 3 said yes, 1 says no, waiting on an answer. This is the nature of what we gotta do.
Yeah, I think I like how it's worded.
Okay, so then we can vote on it as is.
Okay. Do you want a roll call or do you want?
You might need to.
All right. Mr. Major, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Obeid, how do you vote?
Is it as is it?
As is.
Abstain.
So nay.
Nay.
Ms. Watson, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ms. Hall, how do you vote?
Nay.
Nay, and I vote aye. Motion passes.
Motion does not pass. 3-2.
That's a majority, ain't it?
We need
4. It's not a majority, if it was here, it's a majority of 7.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Mr. Najee, I think at this point, you're the type where you can vote, isn't he?
No, there's a tiebreaking vote. It did not pass. We
Yeah.
can revisit it in
revisit
a
it.
different form.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, motion fails.
That would have been a lot of pressure.
Huh?
I said that would have been a lot of pressure.
All right, audience participation, I have 2. Ibrahim Mahmoud, I'm sorry if is he still here? All right. All right, Mr. Josh. Oh, we're gonna try.
Hands connect.
Hello.
Is this on? Can you
you hear me? Excellent.
Yes, yeah.
I can hear you, but I don't know if it's on.
Is it on? No?
It's okay, we can hear you.
Okay, fantastic. I'll just speak loud anyway. I did not plan to speak to the board this meeting. I thank you for being here, especially for such a long night. I know that things in this district have been troubled and difficult, and you guys have been sticking through it and helping guide us out of it. There were a lot of things that I heard today, though, that made me need to come and talk to the board. I was listening to the VLI presentation, and I heard some concerning statements about that. First of which was a slip of the tongue where the students that we are trying to paint a portrait of a graduate for were referred to as customers. Secondly, I wanted to talk to the board about how this was presented as an alternative to transportation issues or alternative to health issues. Students need to be able to come to school, and so having a transportation issue is not a good reason for a VLI program inherently. We have buses. And similarly, the issue of a health issue needs documentation for accommodations like that. So if we're trying to present VLI as this service, that would be the wrong presentation. I think that a VLI program is very, very important, very, very useful. I do not think that it is currently being run well. I'm very concerned about the dual enrollment of 80 students in various different schools or educational facilities. I'm wondering now, as a resident of Hamtramck, where my tax dollars are going. And that's a concern that probably has an answer, but it's one that other people are thinking about as well. Finally, I wanted to talk a little bit about the discussion that happened after the presentation, where the focus very quickly became upon the recording of teachers' lectures as an accessibility for students to watch if they missed a lesson. But I felt that that discussion was avoiding the point, which was they were missing the lessons because they're dual enrolled in another school. And that's not okay. Thank you.
All right, next up, Michelle Cook.
Thank you. I want to just start off by saying that in the presentation tonight, one of the slides addressed students we serve. And nowhere on that slide did it talk about 80 students that are enrolled in other schools, private schools. In fact, tonight is the first time that I've ever heard our director admit that there are 80 students that are enrolled in other schools. I could talk about the lack of PD that we've had, the chronic disorganization. I could talk about the poor results. I could talk about students spending an average of 30 minutes a day total on their studies in Pearson, submitting failing work and asking to retry it over and over and over again. I could talk about parents talking to me about various promises that they had been made that were not ever going to happen. One parent actually thought that I was going to be appearing at these private schools to instruct her children. I could talk a lot about different things that are problems with the program, but I'm afraid you'd miss the point. And the point is this: our district is using public funds to support private schools. This is against the Michigan Constitution, period. This cannot be tweaked. It cannot be fixed. We have staff, that is our staff, that are in these schools supposedly helping them with this. we were asked, what are the hours? I can tell you what the parents tell me the hours are. 8 to 2 are supposed to be on the program of the school, and from 2 to 5 is supposed to be doing the academics. That's 8 o'clock to 5 o'clock. They are in the brick and mortar of Al Quran or Darul Uloom. That is where the majority of my students are. I heard about the recording issue. There is a board policy. It's 2461. It does start off talking about the IEP process, but midway down there's a second bullet point, recording of other district meetings involving students and or parents, example parent-teacher conferences, and it says partway down that, video recording any district meeting is strictly prohibited, with the exception of meetings open to the public under the Open Meetings Act.
15 seconds.
Okay, so I just want to get back to the point that this is against the Michigan Constitution. Our resources like workbooks, Chromebooks, my labor, staff are being sent
That's 3 minutes.
to a private school. This needs to be fixed, it needs to be ended now.
Thank you. Any board discussion?
I have one. Oh, you can go first. Evan, you wanna go first?
Oh, sorry. You sure? I got like 5.
Oh, it's a lot? Okay, then never mind, me first. I was happy to see the kids go off to homecoming this weekend, but I was really upset that there was not a homecoming football game. And I don't know if it's hearsay, but my niece said the boys didn't play because they didn't have any physicals. I'm completely lost. I don't know if it's true, but I don't know if Kiner can answer that since I haven't met the AD yet. Oh, the AD is here?
I did ask for
Oh, okay.
AD to come.
Speak to that.
I'm a little lost.
Hi, my name is Antonio Johnson. I'm the new AD. We had some issues with an ineligible player, and then we did have our physicals, but we didn't have enough of the physicals were complete. So throughout this whole process, we were trying to get the kids' physicals completed, but we were unaware that we had one ineligible player playing. So we had to self-report to MHSA and let them know that we had played an ineligible player. The physicals, we were working on them when I first got there, and we were still in the process of getting all the incomplete physicals completed, and that's where we were at. So we didn't want to go on and have a game with incomplete physicals and having a kid get injured.
So that was their first game they were playing?
That was their fifth game they were
Can I
playing.
add something to that?
Oh, so they were already, but how long did the physical, and we have a nurse at our school. So how were they incomplete? Was it like the parent didn't sign it?
Yeah, there was some signatures and
Okay.
things
So
of that nature, so we
we
were
had
trying to
this-
get.
We had this issue before in the past with our old athletic director. Do you remember in the soccer game, the state championship, and then
I remember a football
the
game, they
ineligible?
got in
And
trouble.
we made it clear that moving forward, like things like that need to be caught in the beginning.
Yeah,
So
remember
I don't understand why it took 4 games or whatever, 5 games to catch that. You know, they just
I was just really upset because I know
that's homecoming.
kids look forward to that, the parade down Joseph Campo, making the floats, announcing, I know they announced it at the pep rally, but that's not the same as walking down the court.
Going
The
down street.
field. It was just really, and I was really upset because I'm like, okay, my niece said, oh yeah, they already played before, and I'm like, okay, so why aren't the physicals not done? We have a nurse. It's not hard. Parents, get over here. Can you sign this for me? When I was subbing at Ham High, I was driving all the way to Grosse Pointe to give a teacher, I forgot her name, Lord Jesus. I forgot her name, but I drove all the way to her house every 2 weeks to give her the kids' work so she can check it, because I was just there subbing. You gotta take that initiative. Like, if you know the parent's not here to, be there for them, you gotta reach out. And I know it's some parents that they don't, you gotta have the coaches and the teachers, help, but it's like, you gotta literally take the initiative. But I was really upset. I
Going
was upset.
forward, its checks and balances
Yeah.
are in place right now for eligibility checks,
Yeah.
physicals, and academic checks. before the kids even step out on the practice field.
Okay, just another question, how many games have we got canceled because of this reason?
Just two.
Two.
Can we just make sure, like, right now, basketball's about to start up, and I think volleyball, can we just make sure the kids, okay, you're trying out, okay, you got a week to get this in?
Exactly,
Okay.
yes, yeah,
Alright.
that's
Make
what
sure that
we're
it's
doing.
signed and,
Everything is signed and completed and stamped by the doctor, as well as checking all the academics.
Right.
And all of transfers, so we won't have this issue anymore going forward. And we will have bi-weekly meetings with our coaches as well,
Oh, yeah.
to check on their status of CAP training for coaches, as well as have everything in place for our kids going forward. This won't happen again.
And then, can you do me a favor, like, all the sports that are coming up, like, when you get the schedule, can you send it to us?
Yeah.
Sure
Thank
can.
you.
Sure can.
All right.
Yep.
alright, any other questions? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, Evan.
Oh, did you?
No, Evan
Oh,
wants to
did
go.
you have a
For
question?
more
Oh.
discussion,
Discussion.
different discussion.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, all right, Mr. Nagy, get your pen ready.
Mhm.
So, for anyone that's still here that presented, thank you. I learned a lot from many of the different pieces that were shared. A few of them rekindled some ideas that I have been wrestling with for a while and haven't found a constructive way to move forward. One of them is to, and I understand, Mr. Nagy, it might be unrealistic to ask for every single one of these to be fleshed out by the Monday report, but we, please at least provide us with your, a timeline on how these things can be addressed as soon as possible, preferably the Monday report. We need to revisit our strategic plan. We have had 0 systemic check-ins on that process since it was accepted. So we need but what we really need is from the board, from starting with, now it's just with Mr. Nagy, with us, the leadership to implement a continuous improvement process that we have talked about with MASB over many years and done in kind of fits and starts, but needs to be recommitted to. And hopefully we could ask Scott to have a session with us to kind of establish that process, because I think that's one of our primary roles that we kind of overlook sometimes and get passionate about individual issues or dig into certain things and miss that it's up to us to really drive forward that big picture, and that really enables everybody else in the system to do their work effectively. So I'd love, Sal, maybe you could see if Scott's available for something like that in the near future.
I could, but, I just wanted to add to that, we did approve the negotiation contract, which that was negotiated out, just so you're aware, okay?
What do you mean? Negotiate?
I'll send you the video link
What's
for
that,
the contract negotiation with the HFT and HA.
what's that have to do with the continuous improvement process and the strategic plan?
That was part of the negotiation,
What was?
to have a committee
What committee?
for hiring and all that.
That's not what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Strategic plan process. Strategic planning process, it's way bigger than that. It's the whole system, it's everything, it's our vision, our mission, our values, and all of our objectives for driving the whole system forward. Those
I'll contact
small committees should theoretically fit into that somewhere, but that's not the big picture of what we should be focusing on. And just for the, Scott had said previously that he had materials on that for us that I never saw come through.
Yeah.
So I think we just need to follow up there, what was it? Let's get, you guys are gonna have a new board soon, let's get that going from day one. I think that'd be a great first session to have. The second piece, communication systems. I know just as someone from the inside of the system, school system, I intend to subscribe to the philosophy that, more is better than less. So some people might feel inundated, but it's better to over-communicate than under-communicate. I'd love for some analysis at the district level of what kind of communication systems are in place for how messages are shared, how information is shared systematically from the board level on down. I'm not sure that does exist in a systematic fashion, and I think that would be important for us to consider moving forward. Again, this might even be another cow agenda item. Some staffing implications have been raised for that in the past. I know not everyone's on the same page with that, but it might be worth discussing an actual communications role. Third piece, sorry, I paused. Is there any follow up on that? Third piece is I'd like to request a formal legal opinion on the components of our VLI program and a just reset. You said we'll have it.
Actually, there's ongoing, we can talk about that. But
Well, I want to see something in writing from our attorney, and then this to be a component of a rescheduled session with our attorney, so we can get clarity on.
But I would still like the whole policy being sent to the board so we can get that clarified.
For sure. It doesn't replace that.
Right.
And so if you could, when you reschedule with our attorney, include that request in there. Is that okay with you guys?
Did we already get any legal advice from the attorney regarding the BLI? With
No.
Mr. Major's concerns?
yeah, with just two matters regarding the enrollment with the report cards, and what was the other question, Dr. Abed, we asked the attorney?
It's about this kind of dual, can the kids be in partial, not full-time schools and be in our virtual? And he said yes. And I think Nabil, you passed it to Salah, and there's also he reviewed our.
There were two questions. I know one question was the enrollment. I can't recall the second one. But we did share that. It was shared.
Would you reshare with me? 'Cause I don't remember seeing
I
that.
don't.
Reshare with the board, not with me. And but it sounds like it may not specifically address some of the constitutional challenges that have been raised. And so I'd like our
Such
attorney.
as the dual enrollment?
Yeah.
He said that that's what the email was about.
Well, okay,
So
I'd like to
can
see
they pull
that.
it, and then we
Sure.
can decide
Yeah.
if we need
To move
legal
forward.
counsel.
Yeah,
on
sure.
it.
Yeah, it works. And then, yeah, I'll pause there. I think you had something, right?
No, I
No.
didn't.
I do have a couple. Mine is different. October is a National Principal Month. I want to thank all principals who are working hard, doing the best. And I wanted to recognize who are principal here at the room to stand up so we recognize them.
Assistant principals count too.
Yeah, the principal,
We
yeah.
have a couple, all the principals.
Thank you.
Also, I wanted to thank Uday from our high school student who has came up with controlling air in Detroit, and it was over the news. And we have brought him here to thank him and for his achievement. I mean, we should bring anybody from our district who are working hard, from
Yeah.
staff,
Technicians.
students, whatever, to recognize them
Yeah.
and to thank them for the hard work. I wanna
Can I
congrat-
add to that?
yeah.
Is it, were you gonna make a different point? or-
Yes, go ahead.
So, I feel like, I know if there's a culture and climate that's established, there's gonna be some level of suggestion, recommendation about, being better at acknowledging our successes and our positive attributes, and it's like, that is important. And I just don't wanna keep waiting, cause honestly, I've been
Yeah.
here almost 10 years, and I brought this up in one phase or another many times, and it continues to not be systematically integrated. Happening, I'm sure, I know certain building leaders do it in some ways and some do it in others, but I mean, I don't wanna wait for those recommendations anymore. How hard can it be to start right now from this level, to pack the board meetings full of acknowledgements of the people who are doing the important, critical, and inspiring work. So I'd love to see every meeting start with the acknowledgement of our staff
A success story,
from
yeah.
all
Monthly.
levels, our students from
Yeah.
all levels.
Yeah.
And that to be how we organize ourselves
Yeah,
moving forward.
I think we should have one every meeting.
Yeah, we've said this for years and it doesn't get
Well,
followed
we
through,
did-
you know, but maybe now is the time, we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, sounds like there's
Should it
unanimous
be?
support here for that. I don't think creating a resolution about it at the moment is the right way. It would be a little hasty, but, and I'm sure some recommendations will come out of the committee about it, but like, Mr. Nagy, yeah, I mean, does that seem within the capacity of
Yeah,
the
for
system
sure.
to
It's
make
not-
sure it
it's-
happens every regular board meeting?
Some recognition, celebration of staff, students, achievements, for sure.
And, you know, look to, as you move forward, systematize that in a way so that we have a process that exists.
Yeah, but there will need to be a balance regarding all the items on the agendas.
Sure,
They're
sure,
kinda
sure. I
jam-packed.
guess I don't mean the whole meeting.
You know what, no, I'm just saying, like, in order, like, today, we had, you know, like 17 items or all these presentations, and it, you know, so it's.
Right. But
you
again,
need to
part of
balance.
that organization of the meeting is directly tied to like our, you know, struggle with that, checking in our strategic planning process, right? We don't know how to organize our check-ins and our issues per meeting, because we don't have that big picture. So anyways,
Yeah.
cool, thank
Got
you for,
Okay, got everyone, thank you.
Everyone, I want to congratulate our boys, soccer boys, on their winning district in Reagan.
Indeed.
Going to,
Semifinals.
Semifinal state. You know, I want to say thank you for these people who are working behind these boys.
Yes, indeed.
And also I wanted to thank all the staff of Hamtramck Public School for the hard work, all the teachers, pros, leaders, you know, directors, teachers, everyone. Thank you for your hard work. Thank you.
Any other board discussions? None? Okay, resolution number 4, meeting adjournment.
Oh.
Motion by Hall,
Second.
seconded by Obey. Resolved that the regular board meeting be adjourned at 9:41 PM. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Have a good night, everyone.
Thanks for staying out.
Thank you. I'm sorry. No, that was